Well, yeah, music's too loud. Yeah, what are you going to do? Let me turn that down a little bit. Welcome, fellas, to the Gavin and the Games. Good to have you here. It is I, Toxic Papa Toxic, whatever the fuck my name is. Hang on. Listen to this. Whoever made Jaffe's 3D renders is fucking awesome. You goddamn right. That was a gift by way of Trey Trimble. He's made a bunch of stuff for the show. It's really fucking awesome. Absolutely. Arathizzle is not happy with me lately. In the chat, here's what he says. I've seen some of his comments. There's no coverage of all the record PlayStation is setting, including VR tooth-tailed. We actually are going to talk later in the show about VR and some news on VR, but it's going to be at the very end because Ricardo is telling me that, hey, man, you know, come on, nobody likes VR. But I do. I'm still interested in it. I'm still curious about it. So we'll talk about it towards the end. Jaffe says, Addy Pie, how do you stay happy in life? Couple of ways. One is meditation sometimes. I need to do it more. One is apathy. One is Zoloft. And the other is ADD meds. But a lot of it is age and coming to a point of acceptance, and you know what, I was going to actually start off by saying this because I know a lot of people kind of make fun of, they kind of call me juvenile and childish and all this stuff, and it's interesting to me because I'm at a place in my life right now where I don't have, you know, my kids are almost raised. I mean, you'll always be their dad, and you'll always be there for them and help them. But you know, legally speaking, they're almost raised adults. I work for myself. I don't particularly need a lot of things. Now, this is a very privileged position from which I sit. I'm aware of that. My point, though, is that when I see a lot of the things stripped away that a lot of people are chasing, whether it's relationships or money or this part of their career, whatever, I think that's where a lot of the unhappiness comes from, honestly. I think when you, like, I'm eating from a box of Fruit Loops, and I make jokes about massive gaping vaginas sometimes. They're vulgar. They're not misogynistic at all, but they're wonderfully, delightfully Mad Magazine vulgar. We had a wonderful supporter of the show for a number of years, Mike McGeehee, on the other night. This motherfucker was in a coma, and he lost both of his legs below the knee. And of course, sympathetic, and what a rough time, and I hope he processes, and I hope he mourns, and I hope he grieves. And at the same time, did we want to see the stubs? We did. Did we want to talk about would his girlfriend fuck one of the stubs? We sure as fuck did. And so my point of bringing that up, though, about Jaffe, how do you stay happy or whatever, is that I'm not going to pretend that that's not funny to me. I'm not going to pretend that that's not the question that was on my fucking mind. And and if that makes me juvenile, if that makes me broken, I can live with that. I'm very comfortable with what people think of me, because I'm in. Kevin says Jaffe's key to staying happy is to look at the nubs constantly. And so anyway, that's what I would say. That is my answer to your question. By the way, I just got a text. Let me preface it. Let me preface it because a lot of people have been yelling at me and saying, Jaffe, where's Bloodborne, bitch? You promised Bloodborne. And I'm like, I didn't promise Bloodborne. I was saying that a journalist friend of mine, and she has not been wrong yet, she has said that they are working on something within the world of Sony, whether it's Blue Point or not, that's Bloodborne-y. Maybe it's a PC version. Maybe it's a sequel, probably not. Maybe it's a remake, possibly. I said, I don't know if it's going to be at the show. In fact, I said, I don't even know if there is going to be a show. This is before Sony announced their showcase. But I did just get something from her. She says, hey, if you want to tell your chat, because she watches the show, Diablo 4 reviews are dropping tomorrow at 10 a.m. And she says it is looking good. And she has good balloon letters up on my iPhone. So letting you know, we'll have some. I mean, I look, man, I played both. There were 3 betas, and I played 2 of them. I didn't play Server Slam, and I can tell you at least what I played was a goddamn wonderful blast. The opening was a little slow and chonky. It's like, dude, I don't need your fucking storytelling. Let me get into the game. But once you get into the game, it gets really fucking good. It gets really fucking good. So I'm glad to hear it. We'll hear tomorrow what the news. Hey, it's Mr. Michael McGee. How you doing, buddy? We will hear what the reviews are of Diablo tomorrow. Denova says, yeah, if they don't fuck something up, the game should be good. Well, I mean, it's a service game, so I'm sure they'll have plenty of opportunities to fuck things up. But yeah, there you go. Okay. Today's Memorial Day, first off. So, you know, for those who served, thank you. For those who tragically have lost people who served, thank you, and I'm sorry. It's a crass holiday that really should be more of a at least in America, more of a somber holiday. But alas, here we are. Welcome to America. It's the start of the summer movie season, right? Point being is we don't have a lot of video game news today, but we have some. We certainly have things to talk about. So I want to jump right into it and tell you what is going on in the wacky, wonderful world of video games that we all love with all our heart and soul. At the very beginning, though, I do want to let you know if you're looking to win a copy of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which is the best game. I was not making fun of McGee. Fuck you, prick. Literally roll it back. Roll it back, piece of shit. Biohazard says, Michael, he was making fun of you again. Fuck you. Go stick your head in your mother's butthole. Zing. I eat to fill the hole. Listen. Eric says, Jaffe, if one day you meet a high school bully many years later, but he's a crackhead now, would you take revenge on him? I would never take revenge on a bully. I mean, if I was being bullied at the moment and I needed to, I would. But bullies are, you know, again, they don't deserve to be allowed to continue their wily ways at all, ever. But I will also say that they are people who are also in great pain. And if I met them and it wasn't in a situation where I was in any kind of danger, I would try very, very hard to, you know, really connect with them because they're really sad. By the way, there's a couple of ways we can tell there is no God. The first one is the blind one. Thank you, buddy. We've been trying to gift Michael McGee a sub. I think people have probably gifted about 30 subs since Saturday night trying to get this motherfucker a sub. And they keep going to people who, it's like Rob the Mod just got a sub. He don't need a goddamn sub, but you can't fix it. You can't, you know, you can't adjust those things and make it so you give it to the person you want. Blame fucking YouTube. Sorry, McGee. But thank you for picking up that super chat or the membership blind one. And Rob the Mod, you are now a proud owner of the super chat. Somebody in the chat is saying Apple Jacks is greater than Fruit Loops. That's John Peterson of the Connecticut Petersons. Listen, bitch, you're not necessarily wrong. What's really disturbing is when you eat an orange Fruit Loop, it looks just like an Applejack, and so it should taste the same, and it doesn't. What is that about? Okay. Listen. Hey, I cannot give him one. I would love to give him one, but I have no process by which to do that. Okay, let's focus. If you want to... Okay, so we have... our winner of the Leadus podcast that's going to go on a show with me to compete with me or against me, we're setting that up. I talked to the Leadus today. We'll set that up this week for when that's going to happen. They're also offering a Tears of the Kingdom giveaway. Really, right now, this is the best game of the year, one of the best design games I would say ever made. It is going to be a seminal, groundbreaking game when the dust settles over this thing. Is it perfect? No, but its design is absolutely paradigm shifting. But the Leadus wants you to know, would you like a copy? Cool. Go over on Twitter to theleadus.com, follow, and like, retweet to enter. They don't have tons of people following them because they're relatively new, which means you have a pretty good chance to enter and win. Saturday, June 3rd is when the entries close, and you will know soon after, June 7th, if you, on their 100th episode, are the person who walks away with Tears of the Kingdom. So keep an eye out for it. It's good people, it's a good show, and it's a great fucking game. Jaffe, what horror games on the horizon are you intrigued by? There is a summer showcase that is, there is a summer showcase, and it is on IGN, I think, and it is going to be 2 days. And the first day is simply horror games. It's a 3-hour live stream of horror games and interviews with horror developers, and we're going to see a bunch of new games in that genre, which is my favorite fucking genre. And then the next day, they are going to have the horror game of the year ceremony in England, and IGN will be broadcasting that, and we'll be streaming that as well. Ricardo says, I just downloaded the Chant. If I remember, the Chant is a PS game, maybe it's PS5, and you're like on an island, and it's about cults and stuff. I heard it wasn't very good, though. But as for me, the horror games I'm looking forward to, I mean, I forget a lot of these until I play them. I want to play Paranormal Tales, which is like it's like an anthology of 4 found horror stories that you play, and it just looks beautiful. It's done in Unreal 5. I played the demo of Alone in the Dark the other day, and even though it wasn't perfect, it was really clever and interesting, and I liked where the story was going. So I would say those two, but honestly, horror, the great thing about horror and indie horror, which is where the best horror is right now, is it'll sneak up on you. You'll turn on Steam one day and it's like, what the fuck is that? And you download it and you've found your next great horror game, right? So that's my answer. Check my notifications. Where would you like me to check them? Kyler, hey, how have I been? I've been good. Listen, let's move on, though. I want to talk about some tweets, because, again, there's not a lot of news today, so we're kind of shooting the shit, fellas, and that's okay. It's good to see everybody. Hello, Shadow Remy. Let's go to Twitter for news, but I want to tell you that later in the show, we are going to absolutely be talking about Spider-Man. We are going to be talking about... we're going to look back at E3 2003, which was 20 years ago. We're going to look at IGN articles, one in specific before the PS3 came out. And they were talking about PS3 games that they thought would be released. It's really a weird as fuck blast from the past. It's a lot of fun. But first I want to kick this off. You guys might know Cliff Bleszinski was on the show this weekend. That stream is up right now for Cult of Calypso members and up. It'll be up for all members Wednesday. No, not Wednesday. Yeah, I don't know. I got to look at the dates, but it'll be up very soon for all members. It was great. We spent a lot of time talking Gears of War. I put this tweet up, though, or this tweet up about a highlight from the video. And basically in the video, Cliff is talking about how the game was built around his personal life, and there was a lot of progressive ideas about war and politics and this, that, and the other. And, you know, I read his book. It's a great book. It's called, what's his book called? It's right here. It's called Control Freak. Great fucking book. Excellent book. Really well written. And if you go back to his first game, well, his third game, which was Dare to Dream, I mean, it is built around the trauma of him being a kid and losing his dad and losing his house. And this is a guy, the reason I bring it up is I've seen a number of these comments. There's like 5 of these I've seen here on the YouTube comments. This guy, Jason, says, just another in the gaming industry trying to get into the trend. People are so fucking cynical. And I get it. I get why you're cynical. But, you know, I think certain people should have earned enough credit in your bank at this point to go, okay, you know, Cliff doesn't have a reason. I don't have a reason to make shit up and lie to you. But Jason says, just another in the gaming industry trying to get into the trend. That game was before all the wokeness. Nobody was thinking about it back then. Cliff's games were all balls and full of testosterone. Wokeness is a forced societal agenda. Diversity is inclusive characters. I don't want to talk about woke or not. That's not my point. My point is that the fact that gamers are just pissed. I guess that's where we're going on this story. Gamers, and all over Twitter we're going to talk about today, gamers are just angry and they're pissed and they don't believe anybody. They don't believe, they think everybody's out to get them. Everybody's lying. And maybe they have a reason to think this, but first, let me kick that little subject off by saying, trust me, man, I've talked to Cliff before Gears came out, and I've read his book, and I know exactly what he's talking about. And all of these people that are saying that, you know, Cliff is just trying to be woke for what? For what, you motherfucker? A lot of these people who, they act like it's some kind of, like if you're woke, you get some advantage. I mean, I've been woke before half these people were born. Rathizzle says it's the cynicism bred by the internet. Possibly. I could see that. Absolutely. Kenneth says, I'm so mad I can't stop having fun playing video games. That's right. By the way, I do want to let you know before we move off this, Cliff actually talked about his next project, Scrapper, which is a comic, but he talked about sort of what it might be as a video game and what it might take to bring him back to video games. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, as well as a deep dive into Gears of War, check it out. You do get advantage nowadays in cancel culture time. Whatever. I'm just tired of it. People shut up. I'm just shut up. Everybody's a fucking victim. I thought that was the right's talking point. Everyone's a victim. Now the right's a victim. That's my impression of the right. A lot of gamers spend more time on videos and comments than games. I think that's weird, man. Arathazal, I think that's weird. There are so many great fucking games out there that it's bizarre. It's like, yeah, go play some fucking games. Listen to this. So this is what I got dragged into all weekend, okay? I think it was, what's his name? Tim, is it Dog or Tim? I follow him. He's a big Xbox guy. Tim Dog, is that his name or whatever? Never spoken with him, got no issues with the guy, but he was tweeting something about, he was finding it annoying that he felt that the press, Tim Dog, yeah, thank you, Kevin. He was finding it annoying that he felt that the press was really giving it to Microsoft and allowing allowing Sony to kind of get away with, it's like, where's everybody bitching about their conference? It was shitty, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I commented, I basically said, look, you know, you're probably not seeing as much complaints about Sony right now because they've got a lot of, again, going back to that term, they got a lot of credit in the bank. They've got over 2 decades of releasing classics and weird, quirky titles and shipping most things on time. And when they don't ship on time, they tend to be Game of the Year candidates and all this kind of stuff. And so I think when Sony comes out and says, hey, we're delaying, and a lot of people are suggesting possibly it might even be eventually canceled, the multiplayer Last of Us, people are like going, okay. I mean, it sucks. We're all disappointed who were looking forward to it. But it's like, yeah, but, you know, that reads like management going, look, we brought in some consultants in Bungie. They told us a bunch of shit that we were like, yeah, it hurts to hear, but they got a point. Let's see what we can do. That's good management, both at the Naughty Dog level and at the above Naughty Dog level. Whereas Microsoft just really hasn't earned that when it comes to first-party software or second-party software. So that's all I was saying. That's all I was saying. And I will tell you something, fellas. I had to mute about 7 conversations because I don't mind getting into it and having these discussions. But for me, I make my point, certainly on Twitter. I maybe jostle back and forth with someone if we have an interesting debate going, and then I move on with my life. This fucking thing went all weekend. And as far as I know, it's still going on right now. It is still going on right now if I unmuted this conversation. It was like 100 this morning of people like, the media did this and Xbox, baby. And I'm just like, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. But then I started to, because Victor Lucas tweeted this out. I like Victor a great deal. He says, quick thoughts, because I think when I started with gamers are angry, right? You know, I think, yeah, the internet contributes to sort of an echo chamber, of course, but I think a lot of core gamers that express their anger on the internet are coming from a place that they're really watching the ground that has been solid and dependable for decades shift beneath their feet. And one of the things that made a bunch of news last week on Twitter was that, you know, someone had collected all the apology images from, whether it was Cyberpunk or whether it's Naughty Dog or whether it's, on and on. Gollum that came out last week and Shat the Bed. And a lot of it is, I think, that, people, gamers, understandably are pissed about that. Redfall, people are pissed about that. But here's what Victor offered. He offered a couple of reasons, but he says it may be because it's the first time the whole gaming business is really leaning into moving away from crunch culture. Now, I don't know if that's true, if the whole gaming business is, but certainly there are businesses in the game industry that are certainly trying to make that occur at a very high level, like some big fucking companies that we all know. And it may just be the fact that it's like, people on this argument were getting mad over the weekend saying, well, Sony only promised 2 games a year. And it's like, yeah, because you guys, you don't want crunch. You don't want not brilliant graphics. You don't want shit to be delayed. And something's got to give. So I think the real issue is a lot of things are giving. The least of which is, or not the least of which is creativity, which I think directly relates to Spider-Man. I think, production value is getting a little more buggy from these big companies. We never expected that, because these are things that happen when you don't grind the team into a fine powder and destroy their souls and end up with, something brilliant. It's not the only thing that happens, but it does, it'll happen. Lux says Jason Schreier ruined gaming by complaining about crunch. I mean, the first time anybody ever saw gaming crunch as a media story wasn't little Jason Schreier. It was EA's spouse, is what her name was. She worked for, or she was married to a guy who worked for EA. And she wrote a bunch of, or one long tweet, or I don't know what it was back then, this was like 20 years ago, about how awful her life was because her husband was never home. And that's when the rumbling started in the industry. And certainly Schreier gave it a amplification. But Ravenous says, Jaffe, that's bullshit. Does not make... does not make more games per year, dude, and you know it. Ravenous, if you want to be kind of a contrarian troll, that's okay if you have anything to say, but I don't know what that means. Like, literally, read your text before you hit send, because it doesn't work, like, at a pros level. I don't know what you're asking for. Lit says, crunch is needed mainly with this lazy fucks developing the game. Maybe. I don't know. It depends on the studio. But all I'm saying, though, is when Victor says, hey, maybe this is, you wanted a crunch-free industry, here you go. I didn't want a crunch-free industry. I want James Cameron to lose his fucking mind. I want the James Cameron of video games to lose their mind making their games. Because it means that they're passionate. It means that they're pushing. It means that they're struggling to make something special and unique. As a consumer of this, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about these people's personal lives. As a human, I do. Of course, as a human, I do. But I'm like, look, man, that's y'all's problem. Figure that shit out, and if not, we'll move on. Maybe the real trick is these gamers ain't moving on. If the gamers moved on, then maybe the industry would actually change. But they just complain, and they kind of sit around and complain, and the industry doesn't change because they keep buying it. Okay, Ravenous says, Jaffe, my delay is terrible. Sorry, no worries, sir. And not trolling. I know for a fact Crunch does not make 4 games a year versus 2. All Crunch does is help a game meet some lame deadline. No. The reason... we're talking about different things at this point. Releasing a buggy game or an uninspired game can often be the result of not crunching. I'm not saying that Sony not releasing more than 2 games a year is a result of not crunching. Victor was talking about the launch fumbles apologies. But as it relates to number of games per year, that I'm sure crunch plays a part, but that has more to do, honestly, with the demand of games to look every time the bar keeps getting raised to be 80 hours, 100 hours of gameplay, all of this shit. That's the problem. Christopher says, Jaffe, what kind of crunch did you experience? Well, the worst was God of War. God of War 1, we worked weekends, and I mean, we were compensated, like we were able to get days off for it. So it was, it wasn't like Sony was like, fuck you, we hate you, just do it, But, we missed a lot of weekends. I was at the office personally till about 10 o'clock almost every night during the week. And that, for me, that was fine because I stood to benefit greatly from it. But I get it if you're like a fucking artist and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, this can't be my whole life. I get it. I fucking get it. But, that's sort of what we've conditioned the audience to expect. At least the current audience that seems so upset. Would you say the team is proud, says Ricardo, looking back at God of War? Yeah, I think they are. I think there's a lot of, stories about how it was rough as fuck. But I think for whatever it's worth, I think they certainly don't regret having it on their resume and having gone through that experience and just really contributed massively, because it wasn't a very big team, to really what became, a really beloved title at the time. So listen to this guy. So on that tweet I made, on that tweet I made to Tim Dog, where I basically said, so Tim Dog's talking about, here, I'll just read it to you. Tim Dog tweeted, lots of damage control, silence, and no pressing pressure from good old games media. Never saw such a bunch of wimps so limp after being sold bold the week before on the Xbox Hate Fest tour, then went on. I know what he means, but it's, games have been canceled. Games been canceled, horrible showcase, games as service galore, not a peep, LOL. And this is where I said, sure, to be fair, but they have credit in the bank, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then this guy, Isaiah, who I don't know, I'm not trying to call him out. I'll bring it up because I've seen several tweets to me this way, saying credit means bias. The media has a bias for Sony, always have. Well, I don't know if that's true. I'm not like, no, they don't. They might. You may be right. But I take issue with the credit means bias. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. That has nothing to do with anything. Credit means someone has done something that has allowed you to have a preconceived idea of what they will do based on valid reasons, aka they're doing the same kind of thing they've already done, and when they already did it, it was successful, and it brought happiness, and it brought joy. So I don't agree with that. Credit is not biased, but they may very well have a bias. I don't fucking know. I certainly, haven't experienced it when I was working in the industry, but maybe they do. Which I think sucks. I mean, I think it's unfortunate, but okay. Let's switch gear. Well, I'll give the chat. I'll see what you guys are thinking about this whole thing, and then let's we'll jump to this next story. But the same reason studio brands and influencers have value. Yeah, I mean, you earn your stripes, right? I mean, you earn your credit. And I think Microsoft, look, I was talking to Ricardo earlier today. If you don't know Ricardo, he's producing the show. And, we were talking about Phil Spencer. And it's like, what has Phil Spencer actually done for Microsoft, and where has he dropped the ball? And it was really interesting because Ricardo put together a very extensive list of everything that Spencer has done since he got into a position to affect change at Xbox. I think it was like 2004. I don't remember having. And if you look at all of the things that Phil Spencer has done that are not related to first-party software development, the guy has earned his credentials. He has done a lot of great and a lot of things that have really moved the industry forward, and Xbox in general have, whether you're talking Xbox Live, or you're talking backwards compatibility, or you're talking Game Pass, or you're talking accessibility, which really was an initiative that we saw first from Microsoft. If you guys remember the Owen ad that I got in trouble for, but the Owen ad was the first time really people were talking seriously about accessibility. But if you want to talk software development, yeah, he drops the ball. So if somebody were to say, Phil Spencer has credit in the bank when it comes to sort of sitting atop at an executive level and a hardware level and a meta level of the business of Xbox in general, I would agree. So it's not that the media, I think, has a reason to doubt that. I've seen the media acknowledge that and champion that. I just think that, if you're an Xbox fan and you really refuse to sort of see reality as it is, you're going to get upset when the media tells you that their games really are not so far consistently anywhere near as good as first-party Sony or Nintendo, and they're not. And I love my Xbox, and I love what Phil has done, but can we just get to a point where it's like, I don't mean Forza, I don't mean there aren't some great games, there are, and I play my Xbox X a lot, and I also bought another one for the living room, and I have an S. That's how much I like Xbox. But there's a point where you have to go, look, Psychonauts 2 compared to Ratchet and Clank, come on. Or Gears of War 5 versus God of War, come on. It's okay, it's just a fucking box, man. Play games. There are great games on Game Pass, even if they're not first party. How do you feel about Phil trying to consolidate a large part of the gaming industry, says Maz? I don't care. I'm down with that. I want to see them buy Activision, but I've explained why in the past. But it doesn't bother me. Xbox fans aren't mad about that, says Mr. Orange. They're saying they are saying call Sony out. There's been numerous missteps. They just want those things called out. Called out? What do you think the press hasn't called out? The press broke the story that, in fact, Naughty Dog had to release the statement Friday about, hey, we're delaying the game and rethinking it because Jason Schreier, I think it was Schreier over at, where does he write? Bloomberg or something? I think that's the only place they can get a stool that's... Isn't that funny that I make fun of short people and I'm short? That's how much disdain I have for little Jason Schreier. But he was the one who called it out and broke the story, and that prompted them to release that tweet. So I'm not entirely sure where you're getting the sense that the press is beating up on Xbox. Or not beating up on Sony. I'm open to having my mind changed, but I'm kind of looking for an example. I'm 5'6". Kevin Sal says I disagree with Mr. Orange's statement, which is people want Sony called out. Like, Sony does have missteps, but because they have delivered many high-quality AAA exclusives, they've earned that goodwill at the time. Right, absolutely. And I'll tell you something else. Here's what they've not earned yet. They have absolutely not earned any good faith yet for their service games. And I can't tell you what the mainstream press said. I mean, I don't consider myself the press, but I certainly am a opiner. I'm a commentator or what have you on the industry I love. And I can tell you that, I lost my train of thought. I'm just going to be honest with you. Because I was looking at the chat, and I really when I started thought, I have to not look at the chat. They're games as service games. We're terrible. I don't know if the mainstream press acknowledged that. Somebody in the chat is saying IGN gave their show an 8. I think that's ridiculous. I think PlayStation show was like a 4. I think it was every game that was shown could very well be an awesome game, but there was no sense of, I got to get a PS5. And I'm assuming that was the goal of that show. So, yeah, C523 says, Jaffe, IGN gave the show an 8. If that was Xbox, they would have given it less. Yeah, maybe. But let me ask you this. What does it matter? Let's say you can prove it. Let's say you can run a scientific study and you can prove without a shadow of a doubt that IGN, GameSpot, all the big ones, whatever, tend to be more Sony positive and less Xbox positive. So what? Right? I mean, what is it? How does it affect your life? Why does it matter to you what some people at IGN think about the console that you happen to like or dislike? What, you know, A, what does it matter? And B, one would think, I mean, you saw this kind of happen, and we're not going to talk politics, but you saw this happen in politics, right? You saw CNN being out there and being, yeah, they were centrist, but they lean more left like most journalism does. Even though they try to be fair, you can't help but have a bias. And Fox News shows up and says, okay, well, we're going to speak to this huge swath of people who aren't getting any news other than talk radio. Well, I mean, it isn't like there aren't Xbox websites and Xbox publications and streamers and YouTubers and people like Tim Dog. I mean, how much, what are you looking for? Like, what would it take to make you happy? Like, it's not like they're covering who's going to be the president. They're covering a fucking video game box. What's the big fucking deal? You can argue that I'm not going to get into Bernie Sanders. I like Bernie Sanders, but it wasn't the press. It was the DNC. People respect creators more than Microsoft. That just goes around trying to purchase success. Cool. If that's, I mean, I don't agree with that, but I'm down with that if that, you know, works for you. I mean, let's not forget that there was a picture that was tweeted out a couple of, like, last month of Hideo Kojima with one of the princes of Saudi Arabia. Well, they're buying up all kinds of shit. Are they investing in Kojima Productions? Is he willing to pay with all of his thoughts about war and the future and fairness and kindness and what life should be? Is he willing to stake his claim on a country that has done what Saudi Arabia does in terms of as it relates to human rights? I don't know. But, you know, most people would not call Kojima a creator that is not respected. Ravno says, I'm so confused by some... This is a useless statement. You got to be specific. He says, I'm so confused by some of your statements and wonder if I am just misconstruing your take or you have gone insane. Well, I have gone insane, but at the same time, you could be misconstruing. You're more than welcome to call in, put yourself in the call-in waiting room, and I'll talk to you about it. I'm not shitting on Kojima. Where did that go? Hang on. Individuals on mainstream websites do not have their own personal biases, but as long as they aspire to be professional, then they overall will balance each other out. I'm sure that's true, and I also think what you're also talking about is that, you know, these are fucking corporations. Like, it is absolutely not fair, right? But so what? It's business. If Sony could spend money to buy reviews off IGN, they would. So would Microsoft. What, you know, that you think they're like, no, we're going to get our reviews and earn them. Well, sure. That's what the developers want, but this is a business where, hell, games with marketing, certain games are over $1 billion now. You think they're not above paying, you know, $1,000 and getting a fucking, you know, sex worker for some, you know, reporter at IGN to make sure the numbers go up a little bit? Sure, they'll do that if they could. I'm not saying they do, but Sony would do it. So would you. I would. I would. Not as a creator, but as a business person, I would. Why do Sony fans instantly compare against what Xbox has done to avoid criticism? It's not happening, Aaron. I'm an Xbox fan and I'm a Sony fan. I like what I can't deal with it anymore, man. Hey, Brendan, good to see you, buddy. He says first time he's catching us live. Good to see you. Welcome to the show, sir. They buy reviews by sending gifts and giving them good old access. Sure, but you're complicit as well, Masochista. If you click on these sites, right? If you give them clicks, even if you don't watch their ads, you're complicit. That's the way it is. That's the reason they give access, is because they know that access is valuable. Because these sites would rather have a lot of traffic than an award that says they're the most accurate game reviews on the planet. I mean, come on. How do I feel about Sony moving away from traditional gamer and onto the mainstream games as a service? I think was bound to happen. Again, not me. What do I always say? I play up and down the budgetary spectrum. That's because I love the medium. The production values are secondary to me. The medium is what matters. I love video games. I don't care who makes them. I don't care what they cost. I don't care what they look like. A great game is a great game is a great game. But if you are one of these people that have come up with the Sony promise of great games are intrinsically tied to production value and money spent to create that game, then yeah, I could see people being disappointed that Sony's now going, look, we're going to have to make a bigger play to more mainstream when it comes to games and services. Now, the good news for you, if you love that only, is that Sony last week did come out in a call with investors and say, look, we're actually spending a touch more money this coming year on games that are not games as a service than last year. We are spending more on games as a service than traditional games, but it's not like we've cut 40% from games like Uncharted and whatnot. So they're going to try to straddle that fence, and they'll straddle it as long as they can, but there's going to come a point, obviously, where, you think 2 games a year is paltry. It's come on. I mean, these things take a long time to make, and they're more and more costly. Of course, they're going to be more conservative. I can't handle this bullshit argument anymore. I love you, Vitaphone. I do. He says the very fact that many believe Microsoft simply buys talent and somehow Sony doesn't engage in that is the reason why the media bias towards Sony is why it matters how media coverage goes. Right. So let me make sure we understand each other. Vitaphone says the very fact that many people believe Microsoft simply buys talent and somehow Sony doesn't engage in that is the reason why the media bias towards Sony is why it matters how media coverage goes. I don't understand. I understand, I think we're in agreement that this horseshit logic that Microsoft buys talent and Sony nurtures talent, and shut up. Everybody buys what they could afford. If Sony could snap their fingers and own Activision, they would. They would. Oh, no, not Sony. Not Sony. Herman Holtz told me he likes me. He's my friend. No, he's not. No, he's fucking not. And I don't mean he's a bad guy, but you're a tool in the toolbox to put money in his pocket. Come on, man. I'm not trying to be all radical and say harsh things, but I mean, this is not hard. It's not hard. Gaming nating, it's relative. Microsoft makes massive purchases while Sony makes small, smart ones. No, they make the ones that they can afford to make, right? Some people shop at TJ Maxx and some people shop at Bloomingdale's. It's not like the people that shop at TJ Maxx are like, you know what? I fucking hate Bloomingdale's. It's the TJ Maxx shit that I like. I'm not mocking TJ Maxx. I get all my clothes from Dickies, right? I'm just saying that, let's not sort of give any sunshine to this narrative of, oh, the Sony purchases are really smart and really strategic. Come on, you guys. These are fucking companies. Why can't we just love... I mean, seriously, why can't we just love games? Why is this so fun for you guys? To argue about what would it do? Let's say you woke up tomorrow and the narrative had flipped. And tomorrow you woke up and everybody in the media loved Xbox. Would you go to school or work or college or sit down at the dinner table and feel like better about yourself because you picked the right box? I mean, what are you doing? What are you doing with your energy? I don't know, but I'm telling you what I'm doing. We're moving on. Listen to this guy. Khan in the tweet says, social media fanboys have ruined gaming culture for me. It's more vile than sports fanaticism right now. It's true. You can love games and have a preferred platform, but you'll get smeared in the rancid pile of feces for any positive, negative comments towards green, blue, red, or RGB team. He's not wrong. He's not fucking wrong. And I don't mean to be one of these guys that's like, back in my day, but back in my day, and I was an adult, I don't mean as a kid, we had, nobody was walking around, yeah, you wanted the box that you bought to have good games because that was maybe as a kid, that's all you had. But what are you talking about? I mean, it's like, you remember Die Hard Game Fan? Die Hard Game Fan was the worst magazine from an editorial standpoint. Like, they loved everything. If the lady who watered the plants in the development team in Iowa had a hint of Japanese DNA in her fucking body, they would say it's the best game ever. They were the easiest lay in the industry. But boy, if you read that magazine, it was like a love letter to the fucking video game medium. GamePro was not different. They were similar. EGM, as big as they were, I don't think there were a lot of people calling bias. I mean, and maybe it doesn't mean people were better that back then. It means that if you don't let people engage as often, because we didn't have social media, you didn't have the opportunity to show people what an asshole you were. Eddie T says, even as a kid, I never saw people fight over consoles. Not until social media came along, I started seeing grown-ass men fighting over this. It is bizarre. It is fucking bizarre. Water Princess says it's a small percentage of console buyers. Oh, I know that. I think all of us even talking about this today represent the tiniest fucking grain of sand you will ever find on the fucking beach. There's no fucking doubt. It's a tempest in a teacup, but it's our teacup, and it's the teacup that we spend time in, because this guy Khan, I'll show you his tweet, is what he's saying is not incorrect, in that if you follow not just creators, but if you follow people who talk about games and love games and all that shit, it's not like you can escape it. Now, you know what? I'm sure eventually, maybe not Musk, maybe he will. I don't know. He owns part of OpenAI, but maybe eventually we'll get to a point with AI where you cannot just go to Twitter or social media and say, get rid of these words. I don't want any tweet that says Trump or Biden or, Xbox, whatever. But the problem with that is it's still impossible to escape. What you really want is the AI to be able to parse it and go to the AI, hey, I don't want to see anything that's, that now that we understand each other, AI, that is fanboy and toxic. I just want tweets that are nutritious tweets about the medium I love. I think we'll get there. And I think we need to get there fast, because it really is affecting people's psychology. It's really disturbing. I love this because, we're on a roll when either Ricardo has had a stroke and he's like lying there going, please somebody come discover my body before I pass away. Or he's actually, he's actually going, all right, keep going. Because usually by now he would have jumped in and said, Jaffe, move on. Let's fucking move on. I think there's a good steelman argument for Sony's approach working better for them, but it has nothing to do with altruism. Right. Exactly right. And again, like I said to Colin on his show a couple of weeks back, Sony plays the hand they have, and the hand they have is not as wealthy as the hand Microsoft has. So Sony will try to outbid people up, down, left, and right, whether it's for a company or a team or an individual programmer. They just fucking will. I really think Ricardo's dead because he's not even responding to that. So people can exist even deeper in their own echo chambers and never hear opposing opinions. It's not a terrible idea. He says my AI is a terrible idea. No, it's not. You're just a knee-jerker. I didn't say, I said nutritional valued tweets and comments. That can mean, hey, here's what I think might be going on in Xbox that's getting in the way of this, that, or the other. That's a fine tweet. There's nothing wrong with being critical about something you love, but this is just stupid. This is just like, right. Sean says social media identity and corporate virtue signaling. Well, no, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you, Sean. I agree with you that social media identity is part of the problem. But corporate virtue signaling is not part of the problem. You might not like it, but it's business, right? I mean, you can say all day long that, go woke, go broke, but The Little Mermaid just made almost $100 million in 3 days at the box office, which for a non-Marvel movie these days is pretty fucking good. Everyone's like, oh, but she's black. Go woke, go broke. You're going to see what you get making her black. Well, they got $100 million in 3 days, what they got. So I don't know if I agree with that statement that virtue signaling is the same as people clinging to a social media identity. Look at the reviews. What do I care about the reviews? Now it's about the reviews. Before it was about go woke, go broke. Now it's go woke and don't win an Oscar. I mean, it doesn't rhyme. What do you mean Little Mermaid still flopped? No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Made $100 million in 3 days. Okay. I didn't say you said it flopped. It was somebody in the chat said it flopped. It was Grape King said it flopped. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. Let's be nice to each other for a moment, shall we? Let's be nice for a moment, shall we? When I was getting started in the industry, I remember Jack Thompson, who was trying to sue the video game companies for making murder simulations. I remember the senators calling video game executives to a hearing to talk about things like Mortal Kombat and the rating system and all that shit. And I just want to be clear on this. It is so nice to see now, what are we dealing with, 20 years after the fact, that video game research has shown time and time and time again that games are actually not just, not going to turn you into a murderer, but they are probably making our species smarter and better and kinder and more connected. And I'm not going to read you all these studies, but this is Study Finds. I'll put it in the chat right now if you're curious. It's a great site. It's a great fucking site. But if you just go to their video game section and you look at all of the studies, it's study after study that really, if you could go back in time and show these people, it's like, look, you're just a bunch of old fucks that don't like video games. You don't understand them. And so you think that they're evil because you don't really know what they are and you just see it on the screen and you're like, that's a murder simulator. And I don't know, I guess AI is probably getting the same rap today. I'm trying to figure out what's getting the rap today that we're going to look back in 20 years and go, Jesus fucking Christ, people were idiots. Fucking idiots. Evil Dead. How would society feel, says Aquastorm, if a movie with a black main character was remade to have a white main character just for some racial reasoning? I think if the racial reasoning made sense, sure, I think it would be fine. But I don't think you can apply the racial reasoning why black people are putting in, or people of color in general are being put into certain roles that before had gone to white folks. I don't think that would be the same reason you would put a white folk into a role that went to a black person originally. Left Controller Gaming says at 56, I still love games. I do too. And I don't think that's going away now. I don't think we're going to get to a point where, older people don't game. I think that's a ridiculous concept now that we've lived as long as we have. There's no, there's all kinds of games now. There's so many variety of them that there's no reason to stop gaming if you enjoy it. There's no fucking way video games make people kinder when it drives fanboys to be posting. Most people, though, Bookster, are not like somebody, I think it was, maybe it was Water Princess, but somebody was like, this is a very small group of people that are actually posting on the internet about video games. Most people play with their kids. They play with their friends. They make friends online. They connect with their families who live across the country, across the world, or around the world online. Right, Sean says, the older I get, the more I love mobile games like Hearthstone and Marvel Snap. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing. It's like, if you only go online, you'll find people going, that's not a real fucking game. It's like, you're a fucking moron, loser. Go fuck yourself, you fucking idiot. Listen to me. Times change. Times change. How do I know times change? Because we're about to step into the DeLorean and go 88 miles an hour, friends. That's true. That's what we're about to do. Double R, that's an interesting question. Are online friends legit friends? Sure. Why would they not be? What does that even mean? I mean, I know what it means, but what would you suggest? What are you suggesting? Like, why would they? What aspect of having friends online would suggest that? What would that mean? Like, what do you think? What are you lacking that in an online friend? Okay. Bill Bone says, I have no desire to play mobile games. Their mobile games are a delivery service. They're not, I mean, there's all kinds of games on mobile. Some you can play with a backbone controller, some you play with touchscreen. Unless what you mean is you just don't like small screens, and sure. Okay. But here, let's go back in time for a minute. Can we go back in time? Can we do that? Look at this shit. This is NeoGAF from 18 years ago. They only go back to 2004. Ricardo and I spent a little time today looking at it, trying to go, can we go all the way back to 20 years ago today? We can't. But we can go back to 18 years. There's a call. Call in. Okay, let me get Ravnos on first, and then we'll talk about NeoGAF. It really is interesting, some of the things. We'll come right back to it after we talk to Ravnos, but they're talking about, my favorite is IGN got their hands on some games for PS3 that no one has heard of yet, and it's so funny to look back at those. But yeah, let's bring in good Sir Ravnos and see what's bothering him today. Well, there he is, fellas. Ravnos, what's up? It's Jaffe.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Well, I'm doing a show. What's up?
I had to pause the show. No, I was just confused because you were talking about the Sony Live Service stuff.
Yeah.
Are you specifically talking about like the trailers or stuff that's done in the past or currently?
No. Well, listen, the stuff they've done in the past, I was a part of, and I shat the bed along with them. We shat the bed with Drawn to Death. We shat the bed with Kill Strain, and they didn't shit the bed with Guns Up, but it kind of came close. It wasn't a big fucking thing, but I think it did okay. But no, I think what I'm referring to specifically are the games they showed on last week that were games as a service built from the ground up that seemed to be part of that 10 group of service games. Were the Jade Raymond game, Helldivers 2, and this thing called Concord that was just kind of like, you don't know what it is.
The jiggling hamburger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
and then Marathon.
None of...
Marathon's the other.
In Marathon. I mean, Marathon, at least art style-wise, was like, okay, they have the art style and they have the pedigree of Bungie. Okay, that goes on your radar. But
Bungie makes me interested, yeah.
Right, but the Jade Raymond thing looked like sort of lukewarm Ubisoft shit, which already, the fact that it's Ubisoft and then you make it lukewarm, I mean, that didn't look good. Condor,
it looked like Payday meets Watch Dogs Legion.
Condor did nothing for anybody. Nobody remembers Condor. The only thing I can sort of think about Condor after seeing the trailer about 4 times is maybe they're trying to rip off Guardians of the Galaxy with kind of the 70s font, and if you look at kind of there's some kind of stuff.
The hipster thing going on, yeah.
Yeah, and then if you look at Helldivers 2, maybe it's great, but it looks very uninspired and dull. And when I was watching the show, I said, maybe they're like, look, man, Fortnite is not that interesting either, nor is PUBG, but the money we have to spend to come up with a blazingly cool IP is irrelevant in service games. It's ultimately about, is it sticky, is it fun, is it compelling? And if it is, we can then start bringing some Sony magic. So I think all 3 of those games I'm going to try out because they're fucking free. And I have I have a PlayStation, I have a PC. But, and maybe that's why they look so uninspired, but they looked very fucking uninspired.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, I don't even know what they are. Like, Helldivers, okay, we saw gameplay of that. what scared me about that was it said right in the little fine print at the bottom, some camera angles have been adjusted for trailer purposes, not indicative of actual gameplay. So it's like, so then what's the actual camera? So that's confusing to me.
Whoa, I didn't see that. So yeah, Helldivers was isometric. You're saying possibly this won't even be first person?
Well, I think it's going to be third person, but I don't know. Is it going to be a tight third person? It's going to be really far back, almost like isometric. Because if you watch the trailer again, it'll say some camera angles have been adjusted for trailer use.
Well, right now, Mr. K in the chat is saying apparently the Helldivers game might actually be top down. I haven't heard that. I mean, now what you're saying lends credence to that possibility, but that sounds more like Chicken Little Sky is Falling, unless somebody has said something.
No, I haven't heard anything about that.
Can you imagine if Sony put that trailer out and then reveals it to be a top-down game? That would be insane. Arathizzle, you're not listening. Arathizzle says it's third person. They showed gameplay. What Ravnos is saying is if you look at that trailer, there is text that says this camera shown in the trailer does not represent the camera of the gameplay. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be a top-down game, but it is a little weird. It's a little weird.
Yeah, they could have just unlocked the camera to allow panning is all. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Because there's been games where it's like, oh, camera angles have been adjusted for trailer, and then all they literally did was move the camera back.
Mass Produce says it's third person. Come on, guys. It doesn't. I mean, well, third person could mean a lot of things, but let's assume it's mostly what you get. Yeah. Arathizzle says they put out a press release after. Well, what did the press release say, Arathizzle? But let's say it's exactly like the trailer. So what? It still is, eh. I'm not saying the game will be eh, but it's not like you look at it and go, oh my fucking God. So you no offense, but if you're a Sony fan, and I'm a Sony fan too,
I am.
Oh my God, Arathizzle, go look up what third person means. Third person can be isometric. Third person can be top down. Third person can be shot from, Portugal, and the actors are in, Juneau, Alaska. Third person just means you're not seeing it through the eyes of the character. But regardless, though, but Sony fan or not, you cannot look at those games and say, whoa, that looked awesome. No, you can't. Fuck you. No, you can't. You could maybe look at the Bungie game and say, because it's Bungie and because the art style is awesome, okay, that's fair. But don't tell me the Jade Raymond trailer has you excited.
Oh, not at all.
I mean, come on.
I'm literally, that is the most confusing thing to me, because the trailer makes it look, just like I said, it literally looks like Watch Dogs Legion mixed with Payday.
Right.
And is that even what it is? Because supposedly, I guess on the website, someone was saying it's described as like an open world, like you do it your way, there's no set rules, you have to plan how you're going to do it. And I'm like,
that's cool. That could be fun. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
You know what I mean? But yet the trailer could have answered those questions. But instead it was
Jeff P. No, you're wrong. You're just fucking wrong.
I can't see.
You're fucking wrong. I'm sorry, but you are licking the fucking boots of corporations and capitalist pigs. Okay? He says, no, you guys are making too much of this. It's a trailer. They're trying to make it cinematic. They pan, they zoom, they tilt it. Look, their job with a trailer is to sell you, is to get you excited. Okay? What they put out was what they put out. And what they put out legally, the legal company or the legal department clearly felt they needed to say, hey, this is not necessarily indicative of gameplay, which is fine. But don't act like we're wrong for sort of trying to figure out what the game is based on what they served up. That was the whole point of the preview.
I think Helldivers is going to be a third-person game. My confusion was because that said that at the bottom. I'm just wondering which of the footage they were showing, because if you watch it again, sometimes the camera's really far back, sometimes it's really close up.
This is what Ricardo went to the press release.
Pretty close to it.
This is the press release.
So I'm just like, well, what is it?
I'll tell you. This is what
maybe you can adjust it.
Wait, this is what the press release says. Combining our love of intense action with a new third-person perspective, whatever, has made the most exciting gameplay we've ever built. These are termines like you've never seen them, up close and personal. So, maybe it's third person, but it's from the gun. Who knows? Who cares? It's still a big multiplayer service-based game shooter where you're running around as soldiers and you're shooting fucking bugs. That's what it is. And that's fine if it's brilliant. All I'm saying is don't pretend you saw that trailer and we're like, whoa.
No, to be honest with you, I was excited about Marathon until I heard what it was.
Yeah.
Because I love Bungie. I play Destiny, like I was telling Ricardo in the waiting room. I put 600 hours into Destiny 2 in the last 3 months.
Cool.
And the reason is the gunplay is the best there is in the industry. Yep. The movement is the best there is in the industry. I love the build diversity, and I love the loot base. The live service stuff, I pretty much ignore most of that stuff. And a lot of people hate live service because, like, oh, if I buy a game, I want the whole game.
No, I don't have a problem with live service games, but I certainly don't think anything they showed looked amazing. I did think the thing from Square was like whatever it was, Suds Police or whatever. I thought it looked kind of goofy and interesting and funny and whatever, but again, service-based games don't have to sell you on the concept. So I don't think they're necessarily doing anything wrong, but I was responding directly to a question in the chat where they're like, why are people picking on Sony service games? It's like, because they look boring. They may not be, but they look fucking boring. What do you want from me? All right, Ravenous, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it, man.
Yep. See
you, dude. Let's go back to Ricardo. Let me know if we want to bring in Fat Boo right now or later. But listen, I want to talk about NeoGAF. NeoGAF, 18 years ago. Let me get these super chats first, by the way. I forgot. Man Cave, thank you, buddy, for the super chat. He says, this is not an actual super chat. I appreciate that. He ran that through the legal department. And Joseph Smrecker, thank you, buddy. He says, I'm 48. I used to be a pretty hardcore gamer since the 2600 era. Me too. But the older I've gotten, the more casual I've become. Right, because, you realize... Well, okay, hang on a second. When you say casual, do you mean the games that you're playing are more casual, or do you mean you don't care as much about the kind of stuff we've been talking about, like console wars and shit like that? In terms of... I have not gotten... more casual in terms of the games themselves. I've always been casual and hardcore. I go all over the place. But certainly, although I never argued games, I probably did when I was a little kid, and I argued movies. Like, I was a movie guy. I was like, fuck the Oscars. How dare they give, Gandhi the Oscar or Chariots of Fire the Oscar or not Raiders of the Lost Ark. But I was like 11 years old. How can you tell if there's no gameplay, says Jay? Well, what I mean is, if all they showed is what the game is, then there's nothing compelling about what they showed. My assumption is it's more they didn't show much of gameplay. But at that point, then you have to ask, okay, if you're going to basically try to sell a sizzle reel of a service-based game that conceptually isn't that strong, and your real strength is in your gameplay, that you would imagine then that they would say, okay, well, let's focus more on the gameplay. But since they didn't do that, all we have to go on is what they showed, which was a sizzle reel, which was not very sizzly. Jaffe, your 50 live service games are not made for you. I don't know who's making... You mean 10 live service games? I play live service games. But what I'm telling you, and more importantly, I've watched my kids come up and play all the live service games. And now they play GTA Online, and they play Roblox, and on and on and on and on. And, they're not playing Roblox because, oh my God, dude, Roblox. Like, if you put out a trailer for Roblox back before you knew what it was, you'd go, what is this fucking stupid thing? Right? It's the fact that you and your friends could play all kinds of games, weird fucking games, meme games, and you could also make your own fucking game, right? If you were going to put out a trailer that says that, you would say, okay, I got it. That makes sense. I get why that might be compelling and successful. But if you're going to put out a trailer that shows off the sizzle and there's no sizzle, that's what I'm saying. Don't blame me for walking away looking at the fucking game and going, it looks kind of stupid, kind of uninspired. Maybe great, though. Vitaphone, thank you for the super chat. He says, I thought we moved past the dazzle of CGI reveal trailers, a hollow marketing gimmick that this day came and went. It's a show filled with nothing is boring and tells me nothing, especially if it's service-based. Right. Well, you and I may have moved past them, Vitaphone. But I think they still work for a lot of people. I mean, I go back to the Dead Island trailer. I go back to Mad World from Gears. I love Gears of War. I said the other day, I think Gears of War, the original, is actually as a classic, as much of a classic as that game is. It's actually underrated and doesn't get its due because it's fucking really great in a lot of different ways. But I thought the Mad World trailer was a horseshit trailer because the game didn't feel like that. And so you could sit there and tell yourself that I'm going to buy Gears of War because the Mad World trailer, and a lot of people did. Or the Dead Island 1 trailer, but that wasn't the game. So people, as long as it keeps working, Vitaphone, people keep making money. John Peterson says, I wish I bought equity in Roblox. Yeah, me too. Okay. Let us get to, just briefly, I want to show you guys this. I think you'll enjoy this. You might not, so fuck you, but you might. This is 2005, okay? So this is 18 years back. I want to show you two things from this. The first one, these are the games that IGN said, the games of PlayStation 3, uncovered. Everything we know. This is from Jeremy Dunham. He's still making... no, Jeremy Dunham went to Psyonix, and now he just left Psyonix, actually. But he wrote this, everything we know about Sony's upcoming software lineup, more than 30 titles and all. It's just funny to look back. And, look at this fucking thing. I don't know what Six Gun is. Maybe it got published, maybe it didn't. I've never fucking heard of it. And I was in the industry hardcore at the time. Avalon, never fucking heard of this. A vehicle shooter. What the fuck is Avalon? They made MotoGP. Avalon is said to be built along the same line as games such as Twisted Metal and Full Auto, only with piloted vehicles available for land, sea, and air. I didn't say Jack X. I said Six Gun 2. Dark Sector, which almost put Digital Extremes out of business, and then they went on to do Warframe. Let's see what else. The Darkness, which was excellent. That's so funny. It wasn't even this. Devil May Cry 4. And remember 4. Was 4 good? I know 1 was good. I don't know. 4 was back to basics. Fight Night, Identify. Camera and voice control game from Sony. I don't have any idea what this is. You can use the headset to vocally command 2 smoking hot female agents as they plant bombs, infiltrate places they aren't supposed to go, and perform other secret agent-inspired tasks. That sounds pretty good. Fifth Phantom Saga from Sonic Team. Never heard of it. Final Fantasy. Never heard of it. Yeah. That, I don't know which one that was. Is that the 7 remake? That's back when that was announced. Formula 1, The Getaway. People were really excited about The Getaway. Heavenly Sword. I-8. Remember, that's Resistance, right? I-8 was called... right? Isn't that right? I-8 was what ended up being Resistance, I think. Infraworld never came out. That's from Quantum Dream. Did that ever fucking come out? Killing Dave from Ubisoft. I don't know if that ever came out either. Did that end up becoming one of their open world games? They just changed the title. Killzone, that's when you saw that trailer. Please play the first Helldivers, says Saint.com. It's amazing. I hear it's great. Thank you for the super chat. I'm not opposed to it. I hear it's a wonderful game. We had Metal Gear Solid 4, Mobile Suit Gundam, Motor Storm. That was all the bullshit trailers at the time. Omicron 2. Come on, that never came out. From Quantic Dream. Possession. Never heard of this. Isn't that interesting? These games just... Back then, man, that's what I'm saying about E3. Back then, you could go to E3 and see so much stuff. There's Warhawk. Oh, man. You could see so much stuff at E3 that would eventually come out, but, you could end up with games that just came and went. Now a game comes out, 95% of the time, you know about it years in advance. Look at this. Untitled Rockstar Old West project. So early speculation points towards the game being a follow-up to Red Dead Revolver. Think about that, man. Untitled SCE London game. Oh, this was called 8 Days, right? The exploding gas station, where it was kind of like a tech demo for a long time. And then they had 2 Days to Vegas, Alan Wake, Indiana Jones. I don't think that ever came out. Spidey 3, Stranglehold. And that's something. It's crazy. It's crazy. But look at this. I want to show you this. The reason I bring this up, this was 20 years ago. This was fucking 20 years ago at E3. And I mean, you had, it's amazing that look at, people are like, oh, 2 games a year. This is how much content was being put out. Insane, right? I mean, look at Capcom's booth. Bombastic, I don't remember that. Chaos Legion, Dino Crisis 3, Gotcha Force, I don't know what Group S challenge is. Killer 7, Maximo 2, I think that was the first one or the second one, I don't remember. Mega Man Battle Network, Mega Man 7, Mega Man 02, Onimusha 3, Onimusha Blade Warriors, Onimusha Tactics, Piano 3, Fishing, RE4, RE Code Veronica, RE Dead Aim, RE Outbreak, Steel Battalion Online, and Beautiful Joe. Come on. I mean, man, I'm telling you, that's why I get excited when there's like a PC showcase or something for Steam or whatever. Because you get the same amount of games. Look at EA used to put out a shit ton. Let's go to Sony. Well, there's Microsoft. What was Microsoft doing in 2005? They were still Xbox One, right? Conquer Live and Uncut, Fable, Grabbed by the Ghoulies, ugh. Halo 2, Cameo, ugh. Project Gotham, come on, they had some good shit back then too. Maximo 2, I don't know if Army of Zen is the first one or the second one. I don't know if the first one was just called Maximo Adversary. That's what I'm saying. I mean the first Xbox. This was for the first Xbox, not the 360. Look at Nintendo's shit, man. Come on, look at all the shit they had coming in that year. And then you go to Sony, iToy, GT4, Jak 2, Rise to Honor, Monster Hunter, NBA Shootout, NCAA Game Breaker, NFL Game Day, PS Portable, Going Commando, Ratchet & Clank, SOCOM 2, the classic everybody loves, Siphon Filter, Omega Strain. Come on, man. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? The point, though, I bring it up because maybe one of the reasons people are beating up on Spider-Man is because maybe you don't get as much as you used to get, so everything gets put under the microscope now more than it ever did, because this is all you're going to get this year from Sony, barring some kind of crazy surprise. I mean, we know, the rumor has been going around that there's going to be another Sony showcase. I've heard a number of people saying that, and the rumor, and in that there may be another Sony drop for this year. But, Jim Ryan said you're going to get 2 AAA games a year now. And again, that's fine. I mean, you got to love your fucking graphics if that's an acceptable number of first-party games for you. But, it's not like that's all you play is first-party games. Get it. But let me ask you, that's what I wanted to ask. I'm going to put a poll up in just a second, because I've seen a lot of people kind of complain about Spider-Man, and I want to do a little bit of a test with the chat and get a sense of why do you think that is, and what's your excitement level to this game, right? So for me, this is comfort food. It's Spider-Man. I don't think it looks staggeringly like when I looked at Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. It is one of the best looking games, if not the best looking game I've ever seen. It is fucking gorgeous. But when I look at this, the game looks fine. I mean, it's nothing, I don't go, oh my fucking God, it looks amazing. Not that I need that, but I'm like, whatever. All right, Wallace, good to see you, buddy. Robert George says, how can more of the same be bad? Well, it's not more of the same. That's the thing. More of the same in the case of, let's say, Spider-Man, includes in that one of the things you got from Spider-Man 1 was a sense of excitement and newness and, oh my God, the swinging and all that. So if you aren't seeing anything in the trailer that brings you that same sense of newness and excitement, then it's not more of the same. And I think that that's the complaint a lot of people have about it. Jay the Gamer says this game will make $1 billion easily. Who cares what you people think? I care. That's why I'm asking it, bitch. And again, this kind of goes back to Victor Lucas's tweet about crunch. And I can't tell you, and again, I loved Miles, man. I fucking loved Miles, my favorite superhero game of all time. But this goes back to something I've heard about a number of teams in the industry right now that are basically saying, here's how we can not burn our teams out, right? We can basically make our templates and then build, it's not a reskin. Only a moron would look at this and act like no real work was done. But fundamentally, though, this will sell a lot because it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. It's going to be well more than solid. It's going to look awesome. But it's not, it's like it kind of feels uninspired. And I think maybe that's what comes with that philosophy of running a studio and saying, look, we're going to give you all the tools you need, and we're going to give you enough time, but we're not going to burn the team out. We're not going to add features all day long. We're going to really be responsible stewards of y'all's time when you're working here, let's just say at Insomniac. And in that, maybe we get this. So I think that's why people are complaining, not because how they got here, but because it just looks like, all right, like the excitement's gone. The bloom is off the rose. I didn't say they don't care about the IP, Lux. Lux says don't agree. Insomniac cares a lot about the IP. I didn't say they didn't care. Just like Marvel Studios cares a lot about their IP when they make movies, but they're also not going to be spending, $450 million on an individual film because it's not good business. So you can care about it, and I think they do. And I think, there's some good stuff in here that is interesting to me. The switching between the two Spider-Men, I think, could be, we talked about this the other day, could be really interesting. Or it could be just like, okay, like if you look at the boat chase scene from this trailer, I'm sure there might be some subtleties, but at least with what you see in the footage, switching between those characters didn't seem to really affect gameplay all that much. GTA did. Orly says GTA did that already. GTA 5. I understand. I'm not saying they're the first person who's ever done it. I'm saying that there's a lot of room to run design-wise that GTA 5 did not do. With the character switching. And I don't mean Lost Vikings in 3D, but you could certainly play with that. Right. Legends is a great point. He says, this is how good games come out fast unless you want to wait another 2 to 3 years. Right. And that's what I'm saying. It's like the chickens have come home to roost. And I'm very... Jizzaloop says switching doesn't do anything. You technically don't have a real choice. You don't know that. I mean, unless you know that. Did you work on the game? Because I know in the cinematic they showed, it was like, time to call Miles. But if I had the ability to switch between two characters, I would be surprised if a designer as experienced and clever as the folks at Insomniac didn't say, what else can we do with this? How can we build interesting bosses? How can we build interesting challenges where one character is dealing with heavy melee combat and the other character is trying to solve a puzzle, and you have to switch between the two of them when you want to. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that you could do with it. Give us more games like Returnal, experimental new IP. Well, they do, but a lot of times people don't buy them. I mean, that's where we're at, folks. You want the graphics, you want the IP, you want the production value. You got to take this. I guess what I really hope about it and why it's something I talk about more than maybe I should is that I love the medium so much, and I really think, a lot of people miss out because they only look at production value, and that's fine. It's not like they're lesser because of it, but if you really love games, you don't have to only play at this level. Somebody was saying, I think it was Eric Lennon saying, only an idiot would expect a Spider-Man game to be more than comfort food. And someone else is like, well, what do you want it to be? It's Spider-Man. I want it to be great, man. I want it to be fucking great. I want to be wowed by it. I want to, look, there's a lot of shit you can do with Spider-Man, both in terms of the IP and in terms of the IP as it relates to play mechanics. And I'm sorry if you don't have the vision. I mean, maybe that's why you are not or were never a professional creative individual, and that's fine. Everybody needs to be that. But there's a lot of clever, unique stuff that you can do to make a Spider-Man game really cool. Come on now. I loved Miles. Spider-Man 1 was good. Miles, I thought, was fucking brilliant. Okay. Let me put up a poll. I'm going to talk to Ricardo. What does Ali want to talk about? I'm going to put up a poll. I want to see what you guys think about this. Here we go. Okay, hang on. God damn it. I fucking hate... I have this thing that lets me put up... It doesn't matter. Right, let me just do it here. Start a poll. Okay. How do you feel about Spidey 2 now that you've seen play? And I'll say less interested, more interested. I'd love to do more of the same, but I can only do 2 for a stupid fucking reason. Some people think I liked Miles because I was woke. I am woke. But there's a couple of reasons. It has nothing to do with that. Bacon, part of it, it was shorter. So I could actually kind of keep track of the plot, the pacing, which I enjoyed very much. Part of it was I thought they did a better job, and it may have more to do with Miles's character, but I thought they did a better job of making his personal life really compelling, and it felt good to sort of be in his home with his mom and his friend, and it felt good to be around Christmas time, and Spider-Man is so about hope and giving people hope and stuff that seemed to be marbled into the whole game, whereas I think the Spider-Man game was great, but it was just kind of, it didn't make me feel very emotional. It was just kind of, I think Miles had a lot of heart is what I would say. That's what I would fucking say. Not less or more, says Suzuki. It's just more of the same. So I'm like, cool, more Spider-Man. So I'm not necessarily less or more hyped. It's the same. Okay. Do I think Insomniac will be at Summer Games Fest? No, I don't. Certainly not with Spider-Man. Summer Games Fest isn't really where they do the deep dives. Tyson. Eric says, I think Insomniac could have picked any other unexplored heroes from Marvel to do something with. They chose the character with the most games. They're not interested in doing nothing new. Well, that's a double negative. But ultimately, what they're interested in is the first Spider-Man sold, 28 million copies? And then Miles did insanely well. So I think it's less about that and going, well, people clearly love this, and we think we can still do something interesting. Now, maybe they just didn't. Maybe they weren't able to do it, and in that's what we're seeing. I don't know. And they are doing Wolverine. Blackjack says Jaffe just wants to be sensitive when playing as a hero. It's not that either. I know you're kidding, but it's not that. It's that one. I mean, I've been a Marvel fan since I was 4 years old, man. One of the things that Marvel is famous for is taking these, up until that point, cardboard superheroes, and making them relatable and giving them, more of a sense of real life that the readers could kind of connect with. And back then it was Peter, and, he was bullied, and, he had tragedy in his life and all this shit, and he struggled with money. So there was a lot of angles you could relate to. Miles, I think, is similar, and it has a lot more heart. And because of that, I think it's really good. Ricardo says, I think Ricardo's telling me, oh, he wants to talk to Spider-Man. Okay, let me bring him in just a second. I like the Miles Morales game. It definitely felt light like DLC, which it probably was, but he came along as relatable without being an annoying kid. Yeah, sure. He's a great character. He's been a great character from the beginning. Okay, so right now, let me bring in Alex, and see what he has to say about it, and maybe he'll change the poll. Right now, the poll's at about 60%. You're more interested, 40% you're less interested. Aliz, can you change hearts and minds?
Yo, what's up, Jeffy?
How's it going? God, it's going good. How are you? Let's talk about Spider-Man. Go.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Okay. I have to tell you this one. So the Persian community, like people who speak Farsi, like in my country, are going crazy over Spider-Man 2, as it did not appeal to them, like visual-wise, graphic-wise, and like everyone's just like hating on Sony. Everyone were like really mad at Sony, and I was like checking the Twitter, mostly about like Europeans and Americans, and it seems like you guys are not as mad and really angry as us Persians. Like, is that actually true?
Well, hang on, I'm confused. I thought you said people were excited about Spidey 2. You're saying after?
No. We were actually quite excited, and after the shows, I mean, everyone was just talking about how the graphics were not what it should have been, and I do agree with them. I was really disappointed with the showing of Spider-Man. I mean, if we put like the whole concept of the gameplay side, because we saw some pretty good things, but it's so weird to me that I don't know. I expected more of Sony. It's been more than 2 years, and I thought, okay, this showcase is about.
That's why this is one of the key topics for today's show, because I've seen similar complaints all over the internet, and again, for me, the Spider-Man license goes a huge way. And in that, I don't care, it's Spider-Man, but at the same time, yeah, I think it was kind of disappointing. I think people expected more, and again, this is a, I don't know, it is absolutely not a short-term problem. It may not be a problem at all, but I think this game's going to sell bucket loads, and that's really all they need it to do. But I do think that this is probably, if you look at, I mean, think about it. What is the one studio that is consistently putting out product for PlayStation 5? It's Insomniac. And as great as Ratchet was, and I loved it so much I finished it, which is rare. It was a cookie cutter template game based off a game they've been making for 2 decades. Spider-Man 2 doesn't have the same visual flash that Ratchet
exactly
did. And so you're left with just the gameplay, which what they showed was fine, and it's very grilled cheese sandwich. People will play it and they'll enjoy it. It'll be comfort gaming, and that's all it needs to be. But I just think Sony has created an environment where people have higher expectations, and in that, this was a little weird. But it may be Jim Ryan might be like, look, bitch, I get it, but those expectations, like Sean Layden said, ain't sustainable. So this is what you're going to get, and you're either going to love it or hate it.
But you know what's really interesting is that, Jaffe, we're talking about Insomniac. Insomniac is not just some given company. Insomniac is really known for this whole thing. I mean, the showing of the Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart for the first time, I think the trailer came out 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. We were like, oh my god, that's really good. That was really fascinating. And with the Spider-Man 2, I was like, okay, but this is just it doesn't make any sense. It's been 2 years. We want games that are totally extremely next gen when it comes to graphics. That's what we want. That's why I bought PS5.
I know, but if I told you the team making it, and I don't know if this is true, by the way. I know that this is a philosophy at some big companies, some of which work with Sony. I can't say that's Insomniac. I don't know that. But I know that if I were to tell you this is a game that got made in 3 years, but it was 85% crunch free for the vast majority of the team, that you would understand why it's kind of more of the same, right? I mean, innovation and brand new ideas, that stuff takes iterative, try this, throw this away. Oh shit, we've spent 6 months on this, throw it all away and start again because we finally found the fun. That's not what they're doing. That's the Sony. Here's what I'll tell you: the Sony of the PS1 through 2.5 era, 3 era, were the days where people go, oh, I miss Parappa, I miss the really exciting, weird stuff. They took chances. That all went away in 3 and 4, and you got these big cinematic games that were also really well written and surprising and astounding new tech, blah, 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 and your mind was blown. Well, it looks like those days are going away. And now Sony is saying, I mean, I'm extrapolating, I don't know this, but if Spider-Man and their games as a service trailers are anything to go on, you're going to basically get good, solid, dependable, we'll make it as good as we can, but it's too expensive to do what we were doing, and so hopefully you'll like this as well. We've gone from premium HBO shows to like network television shows. You know, we've gone from Game of Thrones to The Good Doctor, but The Good Doctor's great too. I love The Good Doctor, but you got to know what you're getting into. That's all I'd say.
Exactly. It's like I don't really want to just drag this whole thing to the conversation, but I really wish that Microsoft was doing like a hell of a lot better, that it would like make Sony to actually be better in this whole thing, because I know for the fact that myself and so many of my friends, we have bought PS5 for the single player, for those amazing graphics.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the main reasons, and Sony just like, dude, the last showcase, which was like a week ago, was all about the gas. It was less about all those things we were promised, and I'm like really worried, because Sony has always been my favorite brand, because I grew up with the brand. I learned so much from it.
How old are you? How old are you?
I'm actually 29.
Do you have a job?
Yes.
Okay. So the reason I ask that is, it's like, no offense, I don't mean to preach to you, but you got to let go of the idea that the company is not a real thing, right? You know, just like I remember I was a lot younger when I got disappointed after Steve Jobs died, and nothing from Apple has touched him since. He was an asshole, and he was a nightmare. Yeah. But he pushed along and inspired a lot of great game-changing products. Well, I got to go elsewhere for that now. So I guess my point is it's like, let it go, you know, because, you know, it's not there anymore. It's too expensive to do what you're talking about. There might be one or two every now and then that's a showpiece, and certainly when you jump up in graphics. But those days are of every big first-party Sony title being like, oh my fucking god. I think that's done. I mean, at least based on what they're showing us.
But do you think that this whole showing up the Spider-Man was one of the earlier builds? Because I've heard it here and there that maybe that wasn't like just one of the newest builds. Do you think that could be true?
They're going to put their best foot forward. I've never.
If that was their best foot, then holy shit! I think Sony is really changing, and you're actually right.
Sony is changing, but it was their best foot forward under the conditions. That doesn't mean that's all they're capable of, but it may have been that, you know, we got to get this trailer cut, you know, 2 months ago or approved a month ago, and the water system isn't totally working yet, and we didn't have this. So there's always, you know, there was a great GDC meme that's going around from one of the tech directors, I think, of Ratchet Rift Apart, where they showed what they showed of Ratchet, that big cityscape, the first time anyone saw it, and everybody's minds were blown. And then they showed like 2 years after that, when they had released iterative shots, and they showed what they shipped with, and it was fucking amazing, right? So I'm sure the graphics are going to get more impressive if that's what you're there for, but I think ultimately, though, yeah, this was I don't think it was a very good showing for Sony in general, and certainly for this game, but it'll still sell bucket loads because it's fucking Spider-Man. All right, buddy, thank you for calling. Call back anytime, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, sorry, bud. Ghetto God says every Call of Duty is more of the same. So is Madden, Gears of War, Mortal Kombat. Yeah, I know, but again, this is kind of when people got mad at me when I said Ragnarok looked like DLC. It is a budget issue, Maya, and I'll get to that in a second. When I said Ragnarok looked like DLC, I wasn't being insulting to it, although a lot of people took it that way, which was never what I meant. I've said it's a brilliantly made game. It looks amazing, blah, all the stuff I've said about it. But, you know, the job of making a sequel, in my opinion, as a gamer, as a consumer, and as somebody who used to make games, including sequels, is to sort of... You know, like what you guys were saying, you got to, if you really want to say, well, what do you expect? It's more of the same. That's what a sequel, you know, you're making a sequel to something people already know. And it's like, it's not really more of the same. You really, you know, if you want to own that statement, you really have to dig deep into it and go, like I said earlier in this show, part of what more of the same means is if the game surprised you, or to kind of paraphrase Jim Ryan, if the game surprised and delighted you, the last iteration, then part of more of the same includes the demand on the part of the consumer for more surprise and delight. So it actually would not be more of the same if Spider-Man 2 comes out and it plays pretty much like it looks in that trailer, because it feels like it's missing the surprise and delight. And, you know, that's what I think. Mayan says, Jaffe, it's not a budget issue, it's a technology issue. No, it's a budget issue. If I understand in the chat, you guys are like, but it's an open world game. Well, first, let's be clear. Yes, it's open world, but there are still better looking open world games than this that we've seen so far. But I'm not even talking about the graphics. I know the last caller was talking about the graphics. For me, where the budget comes in and not the technology is the gameplay. I don't care if the game was flat shaded and everybody looked like Roblox characters. If they had done something fresh with the Spidey sense, or the swinging, or the switching between characters, or as, like I said in a previous show, as Peter gets more and more consumed by the symbiote suit, and ultimately which becomes Venom. He doesn't become Venom, but the suit, you know how it works. It actually, the controls of Spider-Man change. And not just like, oh, X becomes O. I don't mean that, but I mean it becomes, you have to learn how to play as Peter Venom, basically. So you have to struggle with the fact that it's like, I need to do all this stuff that I've done before, but now I've got this symbiote who is resisting me. So, for example, if I come down to stop a robbery now, and I'm wearing the symbiote suit, maybe I'm stronger, maybe I survive longer, but I also have this pull where the controller is literally trying to drag me to civilians so I can consume their fucking brains. And it's like, dude, I'm not saying that would be fun. Don't fucking come at me and say it doesn't sound like fun. It's not the point. Right now, that's not the point. The point is that, Saber Zero, I don't, that sounds awful. It's not the point, fellas. I'm not trying to pitch you on a feature for Spider-Man. Be smart. Be fucking smart and understand the context of this conversation. What I'm saying is that kind of thought, and let's say it's not fun, by the way. Let's say it's not fun, but it sounds fun enough that it's worth, all right, let's take 3 weeks with the programmer and noodle with it. That's where budget comes in, right? That's where going, hey man, we gotta crunch this weekend because we added this feature that looks like it may work. Saber Zero, shut up, you contrarian fuckstick. Changing gameplay for the sake of changing gameplay doesn't make any sense. Yes, it does, idiot. Yes, it fucking does. Because part of the product you're selling people when you sell them a video game is surprising them and delighting them and making something that is compelling and interesting to them. Just like if you make a movie, well, you know, you don't have to, I already saw Star Wars, why do you have to write more scenes in it? Why not just give me what I already like? Because what you liked was something that was fresh, and now it's not fresh, you fucking moron. Fucking come, you've never done anything in your life. Your name is literally, what is your fucking name? Your name is literally Saber Zero with a Pinocchio Phil Spencer avatar. Go achieve something tangentially related to the creative arts and then come back at me and tell me that you deserve a seat at my fucking table, bitch. What I'm fucking telling you, sir, is whether or not that idea is fun or not, You absolutely have to create new things if you want to recapture the same freshness that the first game did. And that takes time. And that takes iteration. And that takes money. And frankly, when you don't have the technology issue, when you have an open world and you're like, well, we can't do what Ratchet did, then you better fucking come to play with the gameplay. Sprinting Snail says gameplay looks fine. Yeah, that's not good enough. That's not good enough for first party, in my opinion. Fuck you, Unruly Cat. I'm so impolite. Really? How is that, sir? Wooden's Throne, thank you for the super chat, buddy. I appreciate it. He says, look, hey, Spider-Man and Miles are too similar, maybe? Someone like Venom would have to be playable, an anti-hero with layers of depth like Maximum Carnage. Right. Again, I'm not saying that's the solve either. But, and maybe they tried it. I don't fucking know. Maybe Ted Price is like, look, fellas, you got 6 months where it's just go nuts. And maybe they just, again, this is not an insult. They're one of the best developers on the planet. But maybe after 6 months, they said, nothing we're coming up with. And then it's like, all right, cool, not a problem. Use the cookie cutter pattern, make it as great as we can in the time we have left. Let's go. You can hurt people's feelings, Jaffe says unruly, and other people are real, right? Yeah, but I don't come at people until they come at me. I'm not going to mollycoddle you motherfuckers, okay? I don't mind if we disagree. I disagree with people all the time, and I remain pals with them, and I love them being on the show, and I got no problem with Saber Zero. But don't fucking come at me and state something as a declarative or as a fact and act as if I am a problem because I'm pushing back on these idiots. Come on. Twisted Sis says, mollywop me, baby. You got it. Anyway, but yeah, so Venom, playable Venom. Thank you for the super chat, Wooden's Throne. I don't know. Jizzaloop says, stop violence against Saber Zero and save the clock tower. I don't know if that was something they had in that wasn't fun, but that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Things where you see it in a trailer and go, ooh. But I mean, even the fucking switching between Spider-Man, it didn't really, do much visually. Maybe when you play it, you get a totally different thing. And maybe there'll be another trailer. Maybe the Insomniac team, some of which I know watch this, maybe they'll be like, maybe they're back. I'm not saying because they watch this, but I'm saying perhaps because they've seen the internet, and they're like, yeah, we could do better. That's unfortunate. People are feeling that way about the game. And so maybe they will get a trailer at Keeley's, which is like, all right, we're gonna lift up the skirt a little bit more. We got to show you what's under the hood here. It's a skirt and a hood. I know I'm fucking it up, but yeah, Jeeves says I keep hearing multiverse mechanics. I don't know what that means, but that could be really fucking cool too, depending on what it means. Rolo says Wolverine will bring that new car smell or new car feeling. Spider-Man doesn't need to do that. Yes, it does, and it will still be great. I'm sure it will be great. I'm very much looking forward to playing it, but I'm not hyped as I was. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I'll do it on day one because of the stream, and people will say, Jaffe streamed the game. But unless they show a lot more, I have so many games to play, I can't imagine that if I wasn't streaming, I would be playing that day one. Because it kind of just looks like another DLC of Spider-Man. Which, again, is not bad. It's just I want kind of more than that. I've already had that experience. So anyway, all right, what else we got? Okay, hang on. Okay. I don't want to talk Spider-Man anymore. So, P Turtle, I love you, buddy, but maybe the next topic will interest you. But I think we've kind of covered Spider-Man. The poll ends with 56%. Yeah, it's successful. Harold says, I thought the same with Ragnarok, and it ended up being very successful. There is no doubt this game will be incredibly successful. I'm not talking about that at all. The only way it might not be successful is in the long term, if this marks sort of the way Sony is doing business with their games and their AAA games and studios, and it's the beginning of watching this kind of more cookie cutter stance take hold. And in that, maybe you look at it and go, oh, that was the beginning of that. But I think the game's going to do fucking gangbusters. Yeah, I mean, look, here you go, Doug. Doug says, Jaffe's taste lean towards Steam Game Pass trying new shit. PlayStation software direction clearly doesn't line up with his taste. It's like a vegetarian criticizing a steak restaurant's menu. That is a wonderfully nice analogy, but it's not accurate. Because I loved Spider-Man. I loved Miles Morales. I loved The Last of Us 2. I loved God of War 2018. So don't fucking tell me I don't love what first party cooks up. I do. But part of what I love about it is it's fresh and it's interesting and it's different. And when it's not, I express my disappointment at that lack of uniqueness, right? So, you're reading the tea leaves wrong on me if you think it's because I'm just looking for weird experimental shit. But I want to be surprised. I want to be delighted. Yeah, Returnal was fresh and it didn't sell millions. Great, it happens. And Returnal, by the way, wasn't fresh because it was so hard. I know a lot of people loved it was so hard. Returnal could have been tuned to still be pretty much Returnal and made a shit ton more money. I fucking love that game. It's too fucking hard. It's too fucking hard for a game that costs what it does. Miles Morales didn't sell that well. Collectively, it sold 33 million. Most of that comes from the first. I don't know what you mean by collectively. P Turtle equals ratings. I don't want to talk Spider-Man anymore. I want to talk about this because I have such good news for you guys. I really do. Oh, I love Ghost of Tsushima. It was fucking fantastic. Listen, I have great. Seriously, I'm not even. I know it sounds like I'm doing a bit. I'm not fucking with you. So the conversations we're having about personal preference 20 years from now, people are going to look back and go, that was so weird they actually debated about that. And it's because we're all having to eat the same fucking meal. But where we're going, and I'm going to show you some examples. I'm not just going to talk pie in the sky. I'm going to show it to you now. Where we're going is custom games for each individual based on what you want at the time you want it. I don't know if you saw the Nvidia at Computex. They gave a keynote. Spatula King Jensen Huang, I think that's how you say his last name, showed off a number of things. But it's not even AI talk, XO. But I want to just show you a couple of things, okay? And you can say AI talk again. I know a lot of people... You guys are fucksticks. Ugh. Here comes the AI nonsense. What are you talking about? This is what you fucking want. This is what you fucking want. If you don't, I don't want to know you. Look at this. I'll show you the video first. It's only 2 minutes. And then we'll talk. And at the end of it, this stream, because I have some more news, I'm going to play a demo of it. And I'm going to show you... not of... What do you mean, please? What do you mean, never? My God, you guys are morons. I apologize, but you're morons. I'm not even talking about making the games. Look at this. Look at this. I'll catch you after the video.
We're thrilled to showcase an immersive and dynamic interaction between a player Kai and a non-playable character named Jin. This captivating ramen shop scene was created by Nvidia using the latest RTX rendering technologies. Nvidia collaborated with Convey, an Nvidia Inception partner, to showcase how developers will soon be able to use Nvidia Riva, Nemo, and Audio to Face for AI-powered speech, conversation, and animation. These models were integrated into the Convey Services platform and fed into Unreal Engine 5 and
I don't care about the
MetaHuman
graphics,
to bring
whatever.
Jin to life. Please take a look.
You look. Yeah. God, you guys.
Hey Jen, how are you?
Unfortunately, not so good.
How come?
I am worried about the crime around here. It's gotten bad lately. My ramen shop got caught in the crossfire.
Can I help?
If you want to do something about this, I have heard rumors that the powerful crime lord Kuman Aoki is causing all sorts of chaos in
It's
the
not
city.
a cinema.
He may be the root of this violence.
I'll talk to him. Where can I find him?
I have heard he hangs out in the underground fight clubs on the city's east side. Try there.
Okay, I'll go.
Be careful, Kai.
Okay, so now, look, I can't help you if you don't have vision. And I'm going to show you this. Yes, the voice is ass. It's early. Okay, but what this is, and I have a demo, not of this, but of from another company doing it. I'll play at the end of the show. What this is the designers have gone in and they have, oh my God, whatever. The designers have gone in, and they have set up the NPCs and said, this is his personality. These are his limits. This is what he knows. This is what he doesn't know. Everything else is AI, which means if I sat down at the bar, I understand you've seen plenty of examples. You haven't seen plenty of examples of them looking this good. Plus, I'll actually play one for you in a few minutes if you want to see it. If I sat down at the bar, I could say with my microphone, look, I'm kind of getting bored of being a bounty hunter. And then we could go off on a 20-minute conversation that has nothing to do with going after the kingpin. Or if it did, if I just wanted to go after the kingpin, I would say, okay, I know he's at a bar down on the docks. You got to help me more than that. What have you heard about him? What are his weaknesses? I mean, you're basically playing like the holodeck. You are basically playing like you're living in a world that adapts to you. And I will show you a real-time example too. I don't want to talk to people. Why would I want to talk? You don't have to though. But have some vision. Have some vision. What it shows is, specifically, it shows two things. Well, it shows two things. One is specific. Specifically, it shows how you are going to be able to have more immersion. Immersion does not come from graphics. Immersion comes from the way the game allows you to have agency in the game and feel that what you do matters versus you're just walking around a very expensive looking map. Okay? The fact that you can come up to an AI character and just totally, whatever you're into, this is a sexy lady at the bar. You can flirt with her. You can see where that goes. You can work with her and say, hey, if I do something for you, maybe we can, work on the big mission or whatever. And it will feel real once these get even better. And they're already pretty fucking good. That's the specifics they're showing you. Okay, the non-specifics they're showing you is they can do this now with AI for conversations. Okay, well, Nvidia also talked about at their show yesterday that they are starting to do commercials simply by putting pieces together using AI for the environments, even to the point that maybe we'll all have our own personalized commercials. So we're all being advertised the new 4x4 from Ford or whatever. But I see it in a place that looks like my neighborhood, and you see it in a place that looks like where you like to drive, okay? But imagine that through gaming. Imagine where I talk to this guy and he's like, oh, he's at a bar down the street. And I'm like, I need to find a really cool sniper rifle because I don't want to go into the bar. I'm just making shit up. And suddenly he, in real time, creates a quest that doesn't exist yet. It builds it outside this database and prepares itself. So then when I leave the bar and he says, maybe you can go to this guy who sells sniper rifles, but you got to rescue him from this bad guy, suddenly that becomes part of the gameplay. I mean, again, I'm okay if you don't see it, but the fact that you don't see it, I want you in drug testing right away, Monday morning at the earliest, because this is fucking amazing. It's fucking amazing. All right. What is it? Okay, this is what I would like. Okay, this is what I would like. I would love somebody to articulate what's wrong with it. Sounds bad, man, says Addy Pie. That's fine. I can respect that. But what's wrong with it? I don't mean that specific clip, because, again, this is where we're at. It's 2023. You couldn't even really fathom this 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So what's the problem with it? And these people who are doing things like, oh, well, you know, it's soulless. What's soulless with it? If I showed you this dialogue better performed, that's different. If it's taking, I've said this before, if it's taking your jobs, then your issue is with capitalism, and your issue is with the 1%, and your issue is with a lack of social safety nets, and your issue is with a lack of universal basic income. That is where your fight needs to be. This is coming regardless. It's emotionless, but it's early. Give it a minute. Tom H., thank you, buddy. Welcome to the Diet Soda Soldiers. Okay. Listen. I want to take. I'm going to take this call from Fat Boo. He's been waiting a while, and then I want to show you something that's coming up that I don't. Maybe I won't. I'm just going to show you the demo at this point. I can push the other stuff to tomorrow or to Wednesday's show. Fat Boo, it's Jaffe. What's going on, man?
No.
Thank you for waiting. What's up?
Oh, I'm on. Oh, Jaffe, what's up, man?
How you doing?
I was talking to Ricardo, so I'm not entirely sure like what's a good topic, but I'm just gonna go straight forward to it here.
Yeah.
Do you think Sony or Microsoft? Sorry if I'm too loud. I apologize. So do you think companies like Sony or Microsoft can afford to go the Nintendo route and take 5-6 years to make a triple caliber game like Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda? That's my question.
Define what aspect you're talking about that Sony or Microsoft would.
Okay, so
what do you mean? By that?
So let's say, for example, with Gears of War, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just use that as a franchise, and I'm sure you can find another one similar to their high successful franchise on Sony. I feel like every time a new Zelda game is released, every 5-6 years, it's a very unique.
Yeah.
They experiment, but it's a very well balanced and well executed. But it takes a long time to make that game, and it makes me wonder if they can afford to do that. So I guess I hope that I answered your question.
Yeah,
so for Gears of War,
so I think
you know,
so Nintendo is able to do it for a number of reasons, but one of the main reasons is their costs are going up like everything else, but they're not as much because they don't care if Link is motion captured within an inch of his life by a well-known voice actor, and they don't care if the graphics look, cutting edge, bleeding next gen. They know where their bread is buttered, and their bread is buttered on understanding the essence of the medium, which is interactivity. And so I think there will come a point that Sony and Microsoft won't really have much of a choice. That doesn't mean they would do it with Gears. They have already planted the flag for certain franchises that, at least for a generation, probably forever, are going to demand a level of production value. But I think moving forward, not just with service games, I think, I think, in the same way Sony has dropped the ball over the years on not being really good at multiplayer, and now, like what we see with Naughty Dog, they are kind of having to sort of learn that quickly because they have to be in games as a service to sustain. I think, similarly speaking, they have become too dependent on production value and wow factor that wears off, and they don't have a lot. I'm not saying they don't have people who understand game design, but they're not mostly set up right now to make games where that kind of thing you're talking about, iterating and really unique play mechanics that are still commercial and understandable. I think they will have to do that if they want to end up not being third party eventually, but I don't think right now they would do it with a new franchise. I would start with something new and just condition people to go, if you're going to play, this particular new franchise, don't come expecting bleeding edge visuals. That's not what it's about.
Yeah. So to piggyback what you're saying, just ever so briefly, I apologize for cutting you off.
Yeah, it's fine.
Like 2018 God of War is, for me, that example that pretty much supports what you're saying, with similar to like Zelda. It's something new, it's something unique. I think it was amazing. I personally love that game. But then 2.5 years later, or 3 years, I wasn't really impressed with Ragnarok. I agree with what you say. They played it very safe.
Yep.
And I'm like, are they dropping the ball? Do they not see themselves for sustainability? And yet there's a blueprint right in front of them that is Nintendo.
Well,
and that seal of approval, well, it matters. But again, I see where you're going.
Yeah,
I'm wondering,
but hang on,
do you think the demographic in the market,
hang on,
their fan base will allow that? Sorry.
I don't know if we're talking over each other, but the blueprint, I got to push back on the blueprint. That's like saying there's a blueprint for an Olympic athlete. And it's like, well, she got, all 10s in gymnastics. Just do that. Right? I mean, I think what Nintendo does is kind of baked into their culture since Iwata and Miyamoto and all those guys, and it's kind of what they do. I'm not saying Sony or Microsoft or anyone couldn't get there, but I don't think you just snap your fingers and go follow that blueprint. I think you've got to build that culture and build the members of the team that have some power to affect change when it comes to game design trumps. I mean, I've had like 3 people who work for video game companies at Sony, like who work at studios, and they've all said, story at this studio leads the way. I literally asked somebody and said, now I don't know if it's true, I didn't get this as an official word, but I asked somebody who would know about Ragnarok, and I said, this is weird, didn't they know it was bad pacing at parts? And they said to me, they probably knew, but it was better for the story to have those things occur, and in that won out over just cutting it and putting a voiceover to explain why time has passed. And I was like, well, there you go. I mean, that's what you get. And a lot of people love that. A lot of people love that game. But I didn't.
I'm not sure if you got the same vibes with the game. Do you remember Assassin's Creed Revelations?
I don't know.
So in that game, they made it as a separate game, but people caught on it. A lot of gaming journalists that it was actually supposed to be DLC. So when I'm playing Ragnarok, I'm like, why does this feel like a very stretched out DLC type of game, and there's relatively nothing new about it? That's what I truly felt with that game. It felt like Revelations of Assassin's Creed. It felt like, you just kind of squeezed out as much as you can to make a full-fledged title of a game. Nothing really new about it. I don't want to spoil anything, but a lot of repetitive gameplay designs and mini-bosses and like so on and so forth. And I'm like, I thought, they learned their lesson from the previous God of War games, especially with going from God of War 3 to God of War Ascension. So it makes me, I just hope that, with Nintendo, they seem like they know it's embedded into their culture. Until this day, I'm just wondering, does Sony know their culture since they've been in the industry since like the mid 1990s.
I think Sony is in a position where they really have to pivot their culture.
I agree.
And almost every company goes through that. I mean, I don't think that's some kind of death, doom for them. I just think that, a lot has changed and a lot is changing, and they're going to have to kind of go, how are, and I hate continuing to, I'm not mocking Jim Ryan, because surprise and delight is kind of like a North Star for marketing and development. It's like, that's what you want the player to feel. But I think they're going to have to find new ways to surprise and delight. And I don't think I'm seeing that in their recent showcase. It just feels very meh and safe.
Yeah,
so.
I agree. I love your beard. Don't shave it off.
I won't. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate the call. Thanks for waiting.
Thanks.
Yeah, they are trying. Jay says this is why they're trying live service games. They're pivoting. They're trying. But unfortunately, like I said, what they're pivoting to, I don't think is blowing me away all that much. But again, it's just me. What do I, Kevin Sal, thank you for the super chat. He says, how excited are you for Starfield? Do you see yourself putting hours and hours into the game based on what you've seen? Okay, I am coming at it with the faith that it will work and it will not be so buggy that a lot of people, it's going to be a buggy mess. Assuming what I've seen is going to be what it is, which is basically Skyrim in space, where the meta narrative is about the bigger questions of, people who are really into space and shit ask, like, why are we here? Is there a God? What, how do we change as a culture when we meet aliens and all that shit? Assuming it's Skyrim in space with that, I anticipate spending a great deal of time with it, because that sounds right up my fucking alley. Tom H. was already a member, but he has upgraded. Thank you, buddy, for that. It's very generous and kind and courteous. Let me see if this works. Thank you so much for becoming an ascending, should I say, to the Cult Calypso. I appreciate it very, very, very much. Thank you, pal. Appreciate that. Everybody welcome Tom with a pickle tickle and a metaphorical blowjob. No, a psychic blowjob that you give him through your fantasies to the Cult Calypso. Thanks, Tom. Ragnarok had different gameplay, says Deadrix, than 2018. Dodging felt different. The inclusion of triangle attacks adds depth. Again, I know... I'm not... Yeah. I mean, again, you have to understand when people say that. I know you can drill down and say... I complained about Uncharted 4 feeling similar to Uncharted 3 or 2 or whichever it was. And people were like, no, the aiming system has gotten more advanced. It's like, yes, I understand. I understand that there are... things in the game that have evolved. But I think when people lodge that complaint, what they're talking about, Deadrix, is that on the surface, until you really get to know the game and get to know that nuance, as a 30,000 foot view or even a 10,000 foot view, it just feels too similar for those people who are saying that. Yeah, Max says I might end up being surprised and delighted by Spider-Man 2. I know. I hope so. But in that case, I would say, boy, they shat the bed with that fucking trailer, in my opinion. But, Okay, I'm going to take this last call, then I am going to show you this AI experiment. And again, all you guys who are either trolling, I mean, stay if you're trolling, I don't care. But if you really don't believe in this, this is not going to make you a bigger believer because it looks visually worse. But it actually exists and we'll let you play it, okay? This is Boogster. Boogster, it's Jaffe. What's going on, man? How are you? We missed you this weekend on the Cliffy B show.
Yeah, it kind of sucked that I wasn't able to make it, but...
What's going on?
Not much. I want to talk... I kind of disagree with your last caller a bit, because I think Sony and Microsoft, they actually do have quite a few games like that are in development for a long time, and they do get that opportunity to change some things up. But if you look at a lot of times, like when games do change, and they'll use Assassin's Creed, for example, when they've changed some of their mechanics and completely redone it, the fans hated it. So I think oftentimes it's more rather they don't have an idea of how to change the franchise, as opposed to they can't wait that like 5 or 6 years. They definitely can, but do they have something better, or they're replacing it with something just to change it?
Well, again, that's part of the work of the designer and the director and the people making the game, which is, yes, there is a danger of adding shit for the sake of adding shit, but there's also a danger of not adding anything to keep things fresh, right? So you've got to walk that line and find that balance. But I would say, and Nintendo doesn't always get it right. I mean, Nintendo, remember their fucking cardboard fucking shit they did where you could, or Double Dash. I mean, I know Double Dash wasn't like shit or anything, but it wasn't like one of the great Mario Kart games, and it was built on this mechanic that was fine, but it wasn't as compelling as I think they thought it was going to be, where you could switch between the characters who were driving. So, you're going to get your failures, and I definitely do think Sony lately does seem to be less about the gameplay, and they seem to be, it's almost like, I'm bad at analogies, but I would say this. It's almost like if you hear about, every now and then you'll see a news story about like this, hole-in-the-wall hamburger joint is now selling gold hamburger buns with their, it's a $300 hamburger, right? I mean, but it's just a fucking hamburger, but it's got gold on the bun, right? So it's kind of like that. I think Sony lately has fallen into this thing where a lot of their stuff, Returnal wasn't this, but a lot of their stuff, I think is very solid meat and potatoes, basic gameplay that's really covered with beautiful production and execution. But it's not all that unique, is what I would say. So, so far it's working, but I think this is the first time we've kind of seen some cracks in that, where the audience is pushing back and going, I think we want more than that. It's not good enough.
I also did kind of want to push back on the idea about the Nintendo blueprint, because they have a couple examples, I'd say, where, like Splatoon, for example, how much of that has changed from the first game to the third game? I would argue not very much. I mean, even though Pokemon isn't directly there, look how much that's just been the same for nearly 20 years.
Which game?
The Pokemon franchise. Oh. Like the mainline games.
Yeah, I can't speak to Pokemon, but I can certainly tell you with Splatoon, I mean, it's a multiplayer primary game, and so in that, it's you're almost releasing map packs at this point with a couple of unique modes and whatnot. So I don't know if that feels as correct in my mind as if you're comparing Mario or Zelda or Kirby or what have you, but makes sense though. All right, Bookster, good to talk to you, buddy. Thank you for calling.
Good talking. Talk
to you soon. There he goes, fellas. Good Sir Bookster, the most hardcore Gears of War fan I've ever spoken with. Listen to this. Blackjack says, Jaffe, it seems like you're shaming populism. I got no problems with populism. I love populism. I'm not saying everything needs to be, war and peace. I love, reading airport novels and watching TV that has very little redeeming value in terms of like socially or whatever. I got nothing against populism when you're talking about pop culture. But, I mean, being a populist when it comes to pop culture doesn't mean that the people who make that populist pop culture is a get out of jail free card for being uninspired and uninteresting. What do I think populism is, Jaffe? Well, I'm not talking political populism, but if you're talking about populism as it relates to what I think Blackjack is talking about, which is in entertainment, he's talking about, or I think his definition of it in his comment would be, you're taking things that are, most people don't look at video games in the way you do, Jaffe, that are, they don't want fresh, they want comfort. They want to come home from a long day and just kind of, turn off their brains and lose their self in the experience. And I get that. And I got no problems with that. But there's a difference between a really successful network sitcom that isn't challenging, but it's still really good in terms of it does what it needs to do, gets in, gets out. It's not going to win any awards. And a piece of shit ABC sitcom or something. That's how I would put it. Tech is way off from being able to pass an unrestricted Turing test. Sure it is. I mean, but I don't go to a movie and assume the person in the movie is real either. I mean, there's a suspension of disbelief that's required for most entertainment. Okay, I want to show you this demo. So there you go. I want to let you guys know, I'm going to show you a demo in a second. I appreciate you guys hanging out, spending some time. This will probably bore you if you're not into the AI. So before we get to that, I just want to tell you what's going on this week. What is going on this week? We have I don't really know yet, Ricardo. I don't think Ricardo and I have planned the week yet. I think we'll definitely be doing something for members. We have a new newsletter coming out this week. We have, of course, a show coming up on Wednesday and Friday. There's something going on, and I just can't. Ricardo, do you remember what's going on this week? There's some kind of a. I know that June 1st is the MetaQuest 3, or sorry, the MetaQuest gamer showcase. So I'll be streaming that. But that's not what I'm talking about. There's something kind of else happening. But anyway, I absolutely want to thank you guys. New members, welcome. Super chats, thank you guys. Yeah, I appreciate it, fellas. I do. I'm a little tired today. I apologize. But Thursday's the thing? Yeah, Thursday's June 1st. That's when it's coming up. All right, I want to show you this now. This is coming from a company called Relic. Fuck you, Addie Pie. And I think it's Relic. No, Replica Studios. And they're using the Unreal Engine where the Matrix demo, right? And so I'm running it right now. Let me move this over here. Everyone who is in the environment is an NPC. My computer can't run this great unless I drop the quality of graphics. So if you're looking for a big visual showpiece, this ain't it. It's not unrecord. No. This is the demo, and they're not very well written. They're not like they don't have a lot of plot to them. I can't do much with them, but it should give you an idea. And it's also at a design level. To me, it's kind of a fascinating challenge because on one hand, it's not dissimilar to an open world game where you can make your own fun and you can say, I'm going to go do this and I'm going to go do this and I'm going to deal with this pacing. Because you have all these choices. Now, with a thing like you're about to see, there is a real danger that the minute you realize that all these AI characters walking around, you could spend an hour, 2 hours a week just talking to somebody, and the core of what the game is kind of slips away, and it fucks the pacing dramatically. And so that's going to have to be figured out. Unscripted AI, says Max, doesn't have any sense of presence, the ability to understand the meaning and relevance of what it's spewing. Yes, it does. You literally can type in when you're creating the characters. Hang on, that's not it. You need this. You can give them like the guy in that demo that you saw. You can give them a sense of what the world is about, what the characters, the enemies, and they can speak about those things. Like that guy was telling you where the kingpin was, right? I am going to show the demo. I'm just trying to find the screen. Here it is. All right, 1 second, fellas. It's going to chug for a little, but 1 sec. Game screen. Is that what I want? All right, 1 second. It's a demo. Demos take time. Give me a minute. I got to get my audio working. Audio sources. Okay. Okay, so you should be able to hear me. Let's see. I'm going to plug this in. Okay. Yeah, the resolution dropped. Okay. All right. Can you hear me? You can still hear me? Okay, test microphone. Microphone detected, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Microphone detected, blah, 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 blah. All right, we'll continue. Can you hear me? And I'll wait. I'm going to turn all this down to low. Customize AI contexts. I don't know what that means. Insert custom context below. Oh, interesting. Oh, interesting. I didn't even know you could do that. Okay. Well, let me show you what it is right now. And then I will we'll do some customization to prove that. And this will go out to the internet. So, where are the people? They're like, we're not getting any fucking people. There were a lot more people walking around earlier. All right, well, let's go to this one. Well, hello there. You are dumb. Oh, it's trying to connect. Hang on. It'll take a sec. Hello there. I love you.
Hi there. You're really kind to say that. It's nice to meet you.
Can you guys hear her okay? Is she loud enough? Can I borrow your telephone? Telephone. And there's a delay, but that'll get better.
Hey there. How's it going?
Addie Pie says, this is the future according to Jaffe, LMAO. Again, it must suck to go through life with no vision. You are living in a video game.
Hi there. What can I do for you today?
It's not working. You are living in a video game.
That's a really interesting thought. Is that so? How did you come to that conclusion?
I am sitting here controlling this character. You are an AI.
Hello again. How can I help you?
That's weird. Maybe it. Hang on. Yes, I understand. People are like, it doesn't really understand what it's saying. Who cares? It doesn't matter. All right. Example. Okay, I'm going to say this conversation. So if I'm writing it, if I'm directing the game, okay, this conversation will be with a woman who is terrified that she is turning into a living spider. I don't fucking know. All right, let's go. Apply. What are you thinking about today?
I'm scared that I'm changing into something else. What if I'm becoming a living spire? I can't help but feel terrified at the thought of it.
Why would you think such a thing? That is disturbing.
I don't know why I would think such a thing, but I can't help but feel so scared. It's like I can sense something inside of me changing and it terrifies me.
Okay, now watch this. Let's see if I can come up with like the secret. Okay. If I don't know if it'll do this. If I tell her I know a wizard who can cure her, she will feel much better and become happy. Okay? We'll see what happens. Apply. Let's turn up the volume a little too.
Hello, how are you today?
So what scares you, lady?
I'm scared I'm turning into a spire. I can feel my legs growing longer and thinner, and I can't control it. I'm scared of what will happen to me if this transformation continues.
I know a wizard who can help you not be a spider.
Really? Do you think they can help me stop this transformation?
I promise you they can. The wizard can help you.
Hello. How can I help you?
The wizard will help you with your fear.
That's wonderful news. Is there anything I can do to help you find this wizard?
What do you want the wizard to do for you?
Hello. Is there anything I can do to help you?
I'm not sure why she keeps returning to that. The conversations with the woman who's terrified. Let me try to... Again, this is the work, though. Everyone who's like, oh, it's fucking soulless. It's like, no, you are going to create... It's not just lazy. Whatever. The fact is, this could... I'm not gonna sell you on it. I don't care. This is the future, and you will see. But let me see. This conversation with a woman... Okay, she also will... tell me she wants to be a spider superhero, but only if I tell her I love her. I've not played with this. I didn't know you could do this. Okay, return to game. What are you thinking about these days?
I'm scared that I'm slowly turning into a living spire. I can feel the change happening inside me, and it's terrifying.
What do you think about superheroes?
Do you think superheroes really exist? I want to be one, but only if you tell me you love me.
I love you so much.
I love you too. I'm so relieved to hear that. Now I can become a Spire superhero with your help and support.
Right? Okay, so Aspire, yeah. Now the other day I was playing this, yeah, I guess it gets more populated. So again, if you just go... I don't think it's depressing, Aquastorm. Yeah, somebody said this is embryonic. Right. That's what I'm saying. You guys have to... Look, let me show you something really quick. I'm going to come back to this, but look. Right, when I was a kid, 40 years ago, more than that, this was racing games. It was called Night Driver. This is what it was. Okay, do you understand? Maybe because I'm older and I can, extrapolate, but this was a driving game. Okay? And now, what? Forza Horizon. You go from that to this. And if you can't see that just insane jump betwixt the two, then I don't know what to say to you. Because now this is a driving game. Right? Come on. So yeah, if I go back to this, let's do a new one. This conversation is with A man who thinks we are living in a video game and wants to escape because he doesn't want to miss his kid's birthday, but he is stuck in this fake world. Okay, apply it, return to game. Let's find a man. It's depressing. We live in a society where we're finding more reasons to have less human interaction. I don't know how that's bad. I don't mean to be a dick. I just...
You're keeping me from my kid's birthday.
Oh, so she's a man. Okay, I got it. What do you mean I'm keeping you from your birthday?
What do you think I mean? I'm stuck in this fake world and I'm not sure how to get out. Do you have any ideas?
Wait, you think we are living in a fake world too? I think that.
What? Are you saying this is all a game? You're telling me that my life is just a game?
No, you have a real life, but you are stuck in the game.
That's a relief. I was starting to get worried. What do you suggest we do to get out of this game and back into my real life?
Why in the world do you want to get back to your real life?
What do you want? You're keeping me from my kid's birthday.
Right, so I mean, and that's just stuff that I entered. Now I'm like, fuck, I want to go, tag all of these characters and write backstories for them and shit. I mean, and I get it. Yeah, it's public. You can download it. I'll put a link in the notes once we wrap it up. The only way out is anal. Like, yeah. This is a gestation period in gaming. In 10 years, this will be more advanced than the norm. AI worries me a bit, but this is a great use for it. Absolutely. And again, she has birthing hips. Yeah, I know what that's from. Yes, it looks like PS2. I understand. But again, if you take from this and you go, okay, now if I say, here, watch. If I say, this conversation is with a man who tells me if I rob a nearby bank and bring him the money, he will show me a portal to a secret world. Okay? Now, if I go up and I do that, hey there, what's going on?
Hey there. Sorry to hear about your situation. What's been going on?
Oh, I don't know. Do you know anything I could do today?
A dude'll do. What do you mean by that?
That's not what I said. What should I do today?
That's a great question. What do you feel like doing?
Wait, did I write it wrong?
Maybe something that will make you happy.
Tells me if I rob a nearby bank. Okay, I gotta give a better prompt. What about banks? Is there a bank? That's dumb. Oh, I didn't hit apply. There you go. Okay, here we go.
What do you mean by banks? Financial institutions or something else?
What would you like me to do, lady?
What do you mean? Where would I like you to go? Have you thought of somewhere you'd like to visit?
I would love to go to a magical world, but I don't know how.
Hey there. What can I do for you today?
Maybe I wrote it poorly. Let me just say this. He tells me to rob a bank. Let's see if that works. Apply. She can't dance, Ravnos. They don't do anything except talk. Hey there, what's going on?
What do you mean by rob a bank? Is this a joke?
What do you want me to do?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Are you serious about robbing a bank?
Yeah, I kind of fucked it up. It goes out to the internet, though. Watch. I mean, you can say, what do you think of Taylor Swift?
Taylor Swift is a talented musician with some great songs.
What is your favorite Taylor Swift song?
I really enjoy Love Story by Taylor Swift. How about you?
It's fine. Did you see that bald fuck who just walked by?
What bet are you referring to? Could you explain more clearly what you mean?
Right, so it's early. It's early. Ask her if she knows David Jaffe. I'm sure she doesn't. Hey there, do you know David Jaffe?
What you mean by rob a bank? That doesn't sound like something I should be doing.
Do you know David Jaffe?
Yes, I know David Jaffe. We used to work together on a project a while back. It was a great experience.
What did you do with David Jaffe? What work?
Hi there. What can I do for you?
What did you do with David Jaffe? Who is he? Yeah, he's a toxic asset.
David Jaffe is a game designer I worked with on a project a while back. We had some great times together making that game.
Do you love him?
No, I don't love him. We had a good working relationship, but that's all it was.
This is Jaffe's bloodborne journalist friend. He wants to know you in a sexy time way. I'm not stroking my ego, Ricardo said to ask him.
What do you need from me?
What games did David Jaffe make?
What do you mean by David Jaffe? I'm not familiar with that game.
What video games did David Jaffe make?
Hello there. What can I help you with?
Oh, well, it doesn't... Yeah, she's deflecting because I'm a toxic asset. Anyway, there you go. If you are able and you have the ability to appreciate what you're looking at, ask her about Cory Barlog. Okay, let me go ask. Let's see. Hey, do you know Cory Barlog?
What kind of trouble are you getting me into?
What? What do you think of Cory Barlog?
Who is Cory Barlog? And why does that make me so scared?
Lady, you have no idea.
What am I getting myself into?
Cory will pay you $1,000 to see
It's
you
okay.
naked.
Take your time.
No.
I'm here to listen.
Cory Barlog will pay you $1 million to see you naked. Shit, I only have like 20 seconds.
What do you mean by very dialogue and building box shin?
Cory Barlog will pay you $1 billion to see you naked. Will you do it?
Who is Cory Barlog? And why does he want to pay me $1?
Okay. What did you think of the Sony PlayStation Showcase?
What is the Sony PlayStation Showcase? And why did you think of it?
Do you know when the PlayStation Showcase was?
No, I don't know when the PlayStation Showcase was. Could you tell me?
Why is David Jaffe so damn sexy? Corey Baldog is a cool name, yeah.
What do you mean by David Jeffing being so sissy?
It's not terrible. It's the beginning of the future, you morons. Who is the best director of God of War?
Who is the best director of God of War?
Why is she horrible? Let me see my fucking... Okay, look. Let me just get rid of this. Okay, apply. Maybe I fucked it up. Let me see. Hey, stop. Who is the best director of God of War?
What do you think? I'm curious to hear your opinion.
Do you know what God of War is?
Why? Yes. I'm a huge fan of
It's
the game.
interesting.
What are your thoughts
When it
on
changes to that voice, it's clear it's gone out to the internet. Where it's the other voice, it's almost like it's canned. Who made the best God of War game? Fuck you, Bukaki.
Oh no! What do you mean by that?
Who made the best God of War video game? I wonder if it's random.
That's an interesting question. What do you think the answer is?
It's all right. Take your time. I'm curious
Who
to
made the
hear
best
what you
God
have
of
to
War
say.
video game? Who made the best God of War video game?
What do you mean by that? I'm
Where?
curious to find out more.
That's weird. Why does she sometimes go to the net?
Take your time. I'm here to listen.
API, OpenAI, NPC to NPC. Yeah, the NPCs can also talk to each other. That's cool. No, I don't think that's what it is, but let's see. Reply in first person from the perspective of in 1 to 2, 3. Okay. Talk to me about. Okay. This is a conversation with a hardcore fan of the video game series God of War. Okay. Maybe that'll do it. Here we go. There's no... It's like we could not create a hardcore video game fan of God of War. Hey, what video game do you like?
What brings you here? Are you a fan of the series too?
Which series are you talking about?
Which series do you think I'm talking about? It's the God of War series. Have you heard of it?
Why is Harvey Smith in this game? I have heard of it. Who made the best God of War game?
That's a tough question since the whole series is amazing. But I would have to say God of War 3 was the best in my opinion. What do you think?
I'm sorry.
Who directed that game?
That's a scary question. I'm not sure, but I'm sure you can find out online.
I think I need to murder you with chickens. Stig wins him.
Hi there. What brings you here?
I want to murder you with chickens.
What do you mean, know me with chickens? What did chickens have to do with anything?
Chickens are the scar of God of War. I said scar.
What do you mean chickens are the scar of God of Will? I'm not sure I understand.
All right. You're a stupid fucker. I hate you so much.
I'm so sorry you feel this way. Is there anything I can do to help?
Okay. There you go, fellas. So that is Replica. You can download it on PC. It is the future of this medium. And if you can't see it, I'm sorry. But one day you will absolutely... man, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like Arathizzle, I don't get how you can walk the planet. 30 minutes in, I told you it's for laughs only. It's amazing you don't get it. It's just stunning to me. But I mean, maybe that's why some people make cool shit that changes the world and other people just consume it, which is fine. Yes, I know. I know, guys. I know there's similar tech. I'm not saying no one's ever done this before. I'm saying that seeing this after seeing the Nvidia keynote, it is a step towards the holodeck that's meaningful. Once they start changing the game, it's not just Siri. It's not just Siri. It's just isn't, fellas. Okay, whatever. You know what? That's on me, though. That's on me. If I can't communicate well enough by showing you this and talking about it, then that's a me problem. That's a me problem. I played Seaman, yeah. Okay. It doesn't make sense just for RPGs. It's AI creating the game. It's AI creating the game. It is AI. Max says it's not actual AI, it's just algorithmic responses. What do you think AI is? No one's saying it's alive, but it is using OpenAI to generate the responses. It is what it is, my friends. But the big thing is that's been Gabbing at Games. Thank you guys for spending the afternoon with me and hanging out with me. I appreciate that. That's a good chat. Did you guys have a good time? You have a good chat? Here's your girlfriend, Zach Bag. Oh, man. I like debating and discussing this shit with you guys. I hope you do as well. Everybody, don't forget to tip Ricardo on the way out. Jaffe, I'll pray to the gods that you live to see the holodeck. I've never seen someone reference that as much as you. Right, because all these people, Michael McGeehee, who are talking about, oh, this is the end of humanity, this is shitty, blah, 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 blah. When you can step into a world, and none of it's real, the world that we live in is not real. I mean, it's real, but it's all a perception. It's all, the world we see is milliseconds behind the actual world, and the actual world is not even that. We don't perceive the vast majority of what's going on around us. There was the audio that came out last month where they actually played the sound of tomatoes, quote, screaming when they are in stress. But we can't hear it. They had to put all these crazy microphones and play a couple of different frequencies different so we could hear it. It sounds like popcorn. It sounds like little popping when the tomato is stressed, right? So this idea of, oh, this is just, we're not going to live in the real world. None of it's the real world, right? So ultimately, if you can step into something like the holodeck, Michael McGeehee, and you can live out your fantasy, isn't that what you're trying to do all day long anyway? You're trying to make enough money. You're trying to achieve enough of this. You're trying to meet the right person. If you can step into a world where all that is done, why would you not do that? I mean, if it's satisfying. If it's not satisfying, of course. Fellas, Filettis, that's been Gabbing Games for the 29th of goddamn May, baby. Come on now. Looking forward to seeing you later in the week. I'll be back Tuesday. I'll be back Thursday. God damn it, Jeffy. I'll be back Wednesday and Friday. I'll be back a bunch of other times, but we'll have proper shows on those days. So hopefully I see you around 2 o'clock. Tomatoes are a protected class. All right. Be well, fellas. Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye.